pressure looks good.
Following up. Roger, roll, Atlantic.
Water towers fly!
Flight downside, FP off.
Yikes. You bet. Okay. We don't need any more of these.
All right, y'all. You know the drill. Let me know if you can hear me, and let me know if you can see the view live from beautiful Boca Chica, Texas. Mary, Boca Chica gal, has rolled out the roadside remote one more time, and we are standing by for what may be T-minus 1 day testing here for Starship SN8. I'm John Galloway with NASASpaceflight. You know the drill. Let me know that you can hear me whenever I am talking here. And then we will get, I see a lot of 5x5s in chat. That's what I like to see right there. We will be live from Mary's camera here, and I'll be working on a couple different views as we do this, but we've got the entire cast of NSF Thousands here hanging out, and we are going to bring you live views and commentary on whatever happens with Starship today. Is it going to be a wet dress rehearsal? Is it going to be something involving fire? We know the residents have notices. We do not have an exact schedule from SpaceX on what's going to happen or when it's going to happen, but I guarantee you that we are going to be sharing this with you so that everybody can see what's happening with Starship. In fact, do this for me, chat. Look at Starship. It's a little bit different than the last time you saw it from this angle. Who here can tell the difference? Tell me in chat, who here can tell the difference? What has changed with Starship since the last time we've done this? Put it in the chat for me. I want to see it. And I'm going to start introducing our other people on the stream here. Of course, like I said at the very beginning, we've got the live view out there from Boca Chica, just about 1.5 miles away, probably a little bit less than 1.5 miles today. Yes, everybody is spamming chat saying the flaps are out. That's what I like to see, y'all. Well done. Very observant. Of course, we've got Mary, Boca Chica gal out there. She is running the roadside roadside remote from Boca Chica Village. There's that. You know where you can follow Mary. If you're not already following Mary to get your daily dose of fantastic Starship videos, you need to go to Twitter and you need to put in at Boca Chica gal. It's right up there in the right-hand corner. One of the mods, put it into chat for us if you could. Make sure you follow Mary on Twitter because she is out there every single day. The sunrise shots, the reflections off the water. It doesn't matter what's going on at Boca Chica. She doesn't just show up for the big events. She's there every day documenting what's going on. So give a round of applause for Mary into chat providing this fantastically close live feed for us today. Also, we'll have some commentary for y'all too back from the studio. We've got, I believe, online Thomas Burghardt. You're here, Thomas?
I am. How you doing, Das?
Oh, I'm doing good, Thomas. You ready to see some venting?
Oh, I'm always ready to watch some more venting.
You get your Tank Watchers merch on, or do we have to
Always,
fire you?
always.
Okay, all right. Good deal. Let's see here if there. I'm actually trying to verify everybody's going to be here. I know we've got Michael Baylor online as well. Michael, are you here?
Yes, I am. How's it going, everyone? And we're currently at the recondenser status in today's test. If you saw when we went live, we had it slightly farther along. We did see some venting from Starship SN8 earlier, but it looks like that's now calmed down. So maybe that was just some nitrogen or something that they were purging through the Starship ahead of today's wet dress rehearsal.
All right. So Michael will be here running all of our back-end technology with the overlays and graphics and stuff like that, all the updates and everything. And we will be talking with Michael and some other hosts. Let me see who else we've got here. I think we may have Jack on. It sounds like he's at an airfield right now. Jack, are you reporting like from a landing strip or something? Is that a jet engine spooling up next to you?
Are you getting a lot of extra air from me? Sorry, my bad. I'll stay
Dude,
muted.
it sounds like you live inside of a jet engine right now. What are you up to, dude?
I'm out at the beach, ready to get another angle spooled up here.
The beach at South Padre Island, right?
Yep, sure enough.
All right. Well, I will work with you in just a minute and see if we can get another angle. You got a good view of it from a different angle over there?
Yeah, I'll be rotated 90 degrees to the left, I guess, yeah, clockwise. So
Excellent.
a little bit of a different perspective.
All right, good deal. I'll get back with you on that in just a minute, Jack. And I think that's everybody we were talking. Look, Chris G, all right? I mean, I see you on comms. I don't know if you're planning on talking or not, if you're just going to listen or what. If you plan on talking, say hi.
I wasn't going to, but I'll still say hi to everyone. I was going to be back-end support today.
Well, we appreciate that. These streams are getting so busy. It's difficult to pull all the levers in the right order. But Chris Gebhardt's hopping through here as well. Maybe grabbing some questions from chat, doing some back end support. Chris, thank you for volunteering for that. I appreciate it. All right.
Of course, my pleasure.
He's already back end support. He turned off his microphone. Um, anyways, while I hop over and get some technical stuff done, who wants to give us an update of what we're looking at? What is the schedule we may see? What do we expect to see today? When's the hop going to happen? I mean, whatever's going to happen. Is it a hop or a flight? Who wants to give us a rundown there? Thomas, you want to volunteer?
Yeah,
Voluntold?
sure.
All right.
Voluntold, so whatever we want to call it. Yeah, so right now we're expecting some sort of final wet dress rehearsal. This is not the launch attempt. That is not expected until tomorrow, which has been confirmed by SpaceX now. They have actually published a stream link for their official live stream, which of course we'll be piping into our live coverage tomorrow. And they'll also, that's a put out a tweet, and there's I think now a page on their website now detailing tomorrow's test flight. So SpaceX is officially sort of acknowledging this flight, which is significant because it is like a test flight, and it would be perfectly understandable if they didn't really cover it like a normal launch. But it's cool that they are doing so. But so that is confirmed to be on for tomorrow, no earlier than tomorrow, but it is not happening today. Right now, the pad is clear, and we can see that activity at the tank farm is spooling up. So it looks like they're doing a final wet dress rehearsal, some sort of final fueling test prior to tomorrow's flight. So that's what we're here to see and keep an eye on today. You do see, we pointed out earlier that the flaps are now all extended. It'll be interesting to see if they like move those at all during today's test, some final pre-flight testing. Not sure, but we know they've been moving those around today. Don't know if there's any I don't know if they'll do any engine testing whatsoever, like gimbal checks or stuff. Even though they're definitely, I don't think we're expecting them to light the engines for a static fire or anything like that. Just a fueling test today is what we're expecting. Of course, plans change by the minute, so normal sort of hedging there. But that's what we're looking at today. If you have any questions about what we're looking at, what the sort of overall test schedule is, feel free to put them in the chat. Of course, we will love to answer your questions along the way. We've got a couple super chats here that I think we'll get through to start off with. Let's go. Is the nose cone pressurized? If not, how does it maintain structural integrity? That's a super chat question from Lieberman. Is the nose cone pressurized? Michael, do you know?
Which part of the nose cone? The header tank or the payload section?
I think the probably the payload section, the overall nose
Yeah.
cone structure.
I'm not sure. It's a good question.
I would assume not, because normally, and so during ascent on, let's say, a Falcon 9 flight, the pressure inside the fairing is there's actually vents on the fairings that allow the pressure to equalize between the outside and the inside, because when the fairing separates, you don't want it to burst, a bunch of pressure burst out, right? I would imagine the same thing will have to be done for Starship. Obviously, this one doesn't have a functional payload bay or anything like that yet. I would bet that the nose cone is structurally sound without pressurization, because it'll have to get to that point at some point. That would be my guess. But I don't think we know for sure. We know the header tank is pressurized for sure, right?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yeah, we think they pressurize all their tanks ahead of propellant loading. So, I would love to know more details about how the entire pre-flight or pre-countdown sequence works for SpaceX. But we do see a lot of, or some small vents in the tanks every now and then. We saw a brief vent just before we went live. So they're likely pressurizing the tanks with gaseous nitrogen or something before they do full propellant loading.
there we go. We got some regulars in the super chats. Rough Rider Show, thank you so much. I will always look back at this day 40 years ago and see that Mary started it all, and also Thomas Fan Club. Yes, always a big thank you to Mary, documenting history out there every single day, and we do greatly appreciate your super chats. Drew, thanks for all the great content. If SN8 fails, do you think it will be a hardware issue, a software issue, or something else? That's a good question. I think the biggest sort of risk point in the flight that most people are looking at is the maneuver towards the landing burn, the sort of flip maneuver. So I guess if the vehicle doesn't survive that, that's technically a hardware failure, unless software commands something wrong, I guess. I don't know. It's hard to say. I think that's the point in flight that people have deemed most risky. Whether that means hardware will fail in the sense that hardware doesn't live up to the specs it's supposed to, or whether everything kind of performs as expected, but the vehicle loses control or something. I don't know. It's hard to say. That's the point of flight I think people are most worried about. I don't know if I don't think like there's no specific software issues. In fact, SpaceX is pretty well known for their pretty sound software development teams, given the autonomous landing on Falcon 9 and things like that. Dragon maneuvering, we saw Dragon dock earlier today. That's a big SpaceX software thing. So, but specifically between like hardware and software or something else, I'm not sure what the sort of risk point is. But I think the point in flight that we'll all be watching very anxiously is that final landing flip maneuver. So that's what we're looking at.
And really quickly, Thomas, if you look on our screen right now, we have the robot up from South Padre Island, and it gives a cool perspective of how much tank farm venting is going on. It's kind of blowing to the left a bit, it looks like, from that vantage point, and hopefully when Starship vents, from where Mary is, the vents go straight towards her basically, and then from that robot we'll get the side-on view, so we'll get two different perspectives of the venting and this test, which will be pretty cool to see. I don't think we did a stream on Friday evening with a couple of different cameras, and we were kind of testing our equipment, kind of a wet dress rehearsal of our own technology ahead of the test flight, but I think this will be the first, major test that we broadcast with multiple cameras. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I switched to this really quickly, to show what we've had online with the NSF robot down from South Padre Island. Massive thanks to everybody who's been watching that sort of stakeout stream, we called it, live since this morning. We've done it the last 3 days. But also, this gives perspective. A lot of times we have this spoilingly close view from Mary, and people are like, oh, the tanks are so close to the spaceship, to the Starship, and Hopper's so close to the Starship, because we look at this and the telephoto lens sort of compresses it all. And with the side view here, 90 degrees off the side, looking down towards the south from South Padre Island, you can get a sense for the separation between some of the vehicles. So you got Hopper over there on the left on the robot. You see Starship there in the middle. Of course, we don't see the fins from this angle because they're sort of side onto us. And then the tank farm is over on the right-hand side. And you can actually see how this stuff is really more separated out than the normal view that we show. That's a good perspective to get an understanding for how it's a little bit more spaced out than we normally see. That's why I switched to that one real quick. And hey, massive thanks to everybody who's been hanging out over there on the stakeout stream. I've been keeping the robot company, and we've had a couple hundred people keeping us company over there as well. So I appreciate everybody. And here we are in the commentary live, whichever stream, with this view. Go ahead.
Das, we've got a question here actually. 3 concurrent NASASpaceflight live streams. Is that a record?
We've done it with the member streams before. So we've done member-only clean feeds.
That's true.
Yeah. So 4 would be a record. Well,
there you go. So
not actually, because we've done
another
5.
camera then.
Yeah, we've done 5, but y'all don't see some of them sometimes because they're like back end moving bits around. But yeah, I mean, we need to add some more robots to the robot army. I agree. The NSF robot army.
Continue with the super chats here. Herman Circus, thank you so much. They will not static fire today. That is not what we're expecting. Of course, plans could change, but we're currently expecting just a wet dress rehearsal test. So just fueling and then detanking and testing all of those systems without igniting the Raptor engines. That's what we're expecting today. Future Martian 97, another regular in the chat, says it's almost happening.gif. That's true. It's happening.gif is reserved for tomorrow. But yes, getting really close, and we're all very excited. Thank you so much. Mr. Morgan Kell with the super chat. I don't know what you're asking. When will we see RSD of... I don't know what this person is talking about. But I appreciate your super chat. Does anyone understand this question before I move on? All right, I'll take that as a no. Another super chat here. This one says, big day tomorrow. Absolutely. Thank you so much for the super chat. We appreciate it. Ian with the super chat question. Why is there no covering over the plumbing lines running from the midship to the engine bay? I guess the lines themselves are protected enough. I mean, I'm not sure. It's not going to go. The vehicle isn't going through like reentry or anything like that. It's going to high altitude and coming back down. but there's no re-entry heating effects or anything like that. So the lines are probably structurally sound enough to deal with the aero forces. Maybe when they move towards the prototypes that are going to go to space and actually re-enter Earth's atmosphere and deal with all those heating and those forces, they'll add some extra coverings. But it appears that SpaceX has determined no extra covering is needed for this type of flight profile. Because SN8, I don't think will ever go beyond the kind of flight profile that they're targeting for tomorrow. Blackboard Science, another regular, thank you so much. Will you have the official SpaceX stream up? I'm assuming you're talking about tomorrow. We will pipe the official SpaceX feed into our live coverage just like we do for Falcon 9 launches and things like that. We'll always show you whatever the coolest views that we have are, whether it's our cameras or SpaceX's. We'll be showing you all of that stuff live on our live stream, absolutely.
We do have a lot of cameras though, so
We do.
I don't know where SpaceX cameras are. They obviously have
Right.
cameras out there, but I think we will probably have some unique views that SpaceX does not have. And of course,
The other
there's a limit of how many cameras you can show at once. So
Right.
That's true.
I would say if you have enough devices, it would be a good idea to have both up. And I mean, if you only have one monitor, you can always use your phone as a second
Sure.
monitor. So if you can, I would say it's a good idea to have multiple screens up because this test flight is so risky. You never know who's going to be on the right camera at the right time.
Right. Johan with the new membership, thank you so much. Hope you enjoy your membership perks. Let's see. Prudent Tame, will they install tiles on the belly for tomorrow? So no, I don't think we're expecting a whole bunch of heat shield tiles for tomorrow's flight. Again, no re-entry heating, sort of a low altitude flight. So no extra heat shield protection is required for tomorrow, so I don't think we are expecting that. And then Matt Olson, history in the making. Thanks for the great views and commentary as always. Thank you so much, Matt. We really do appreciate it. And it's your support from people like you that allow us to do this. So thank you so much. I'm going to start going through our sort of normal question queue now. Let's see what we've got here. Will there be a Texas tank watching shirt with the flaps and the nose cone? I think there will have to be some updated Boca Chica merch with
Oh,
the
yes.
new outlines of the Starship, right? I think so.
I think our intention all along was to do some updates where it was like, here's the 2019 version, and then the skylines changed to look like this, and the skylines
Right.
changed to look like this. Like, I do believe that's the intention.
Yeah, I think our like tank watching shirt with the skyline sort of, if you can call it that, of Boca Chica's launch site. I think we should update that every so often and then discontinue the previous version. So the previous versions become like collector's items.
Ooh, that's a good idea. You hear that? If you want the original Texas Tank Watcher skyline, you might have to buy it soon. It
That's
might.
actually that's really good motivation to get one now because I really like mine, so I'm gonna have to get another one. And this is not a sales pitch. I legitimately, this happens all the time. Like I'll listen to a podcast and they're like, "We're only gonna make so many of these," or what have you. So yeah, limited edition. That sounds cool. And let's update it because SN8 looks so much cooler than just the tank section.
Yeah.
Someone in our back channel who does our webmaster who does a lot of our designs for the store just sent a silhouette of an updated skyline. So there you go. Sounds
Already?
like it's in work already.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, literally sent at 4:14 p.m. So a minute ago. Yeah.
So maybe
Well,
we
there you
should,
go.
Mark, if you're feeling ambitious, maybe if you could have that ready to go on a shirt by tomorrow, we could debut that during the hop stream or the test flight stream. If people are gonna yell at me for calling it a hop, but
Yeah, it's a flight, Michael. Come on now. Um,
Team
let's
flight over here. Definitely team flight.
team flight. Really quick, Tech Marine with the new membership. Thank you so much for the support. And Remnant Art says hello from Singapore. Can't wait for the launch. Well, shout out to you. Thank you for tuning in. Let's see more questions here. LMAO, nice username. Why are the fins so big in relation to the body? Is it a mass thing? So the size that the fins are dictated by how much force they need those fins to exert during flight and how much sort of control authority they need on the way down. Obviously, the ones at the bottom are a little bigger And I believe, just thinking off the top of my head, that's probably just due to the proportion most of the mass is at the bottom because of the fuel settling there and the engine bay. But the fins are sized based on that final landing maneuver, which is what those fins are really there for, keeping the Starship stable and mostly horizontal on the way down, and then the fins pivoting to allow the vehicle to start flipping vertical and prepare for the landing burn. So that's what determines how big those fins are. Alex here with a question about when during the day tomorrow we might expect the flight to happen. Michael, do we know what our window is for tomorrow?
Yeah, so I believe, well, we know when the road closures start. So the road closures start at 8. Let me make sure. One of the road closures was 8:30 instead of 8 for some reason. But okay, all the current road closures are all 8 a.m. to 5:30. That was what the confusion was. Tomorrow or today's road closure was 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. But the remaining road closures are all 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So I don't know what was going on with that 5:30 p.m. today. But tomorrow's road closure is from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And I think the TFR has a longer window than that in the evening. So
And
essentially,
this is all Central Time, correct,
yes,
Michael?
good
Okay, so that
clarification.
is yes. So a lot of people are asking for the UTC conversion time. So that would be UTC -6 in
Yes,
Central Time Zone.
yes, and I mean that's when the road closures and the TFRs go up. So they're not gonna launch the second they have everything clear. They're gonna clear out the hazard zones, have the hazard zones go up, and they're gonna take some time to make sure it is actually clear. So my understanding is the actual launch window opens at 9 a.m. Central Time. But I think given that this is the first time they have actually performed a test flight of this magnitude from South Texas, there's likely going to be delays and whatnot. So I think the absolute earliest you could see a test flight is 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, Central Time, but likely, it could be any time in the afternoon or I guess between 9 and noon in the morning. But I think an afternoon test flight is the most likely. But as SpaceX said in their press release on their website today, these test campaigns are super fluid, so they're going to be posting regular updates on their Twitter, I think. And you're just going to have to keep your afternoon open if you want to see this thing happen.
Yes, and I think the window that you gave there, Michael, corresponds to 1400 to 2300 UTC for the entire duration of the closure windows and everything there for those of you
Yes.
following along outside of the US time zones.
Okay, so that does perfectly match the TFR then. So the road closures and the TFRs match. And then sometime inside of that window, like I said, likely at least an hour into it would be the actual launch window. And I should also note that if everything goes perfectly, and if Starship SN8 were to land, they would likely extend the road closures several hours while they make sure it's safe and they let any remaining propellant boil off. We saw that both with SN5 and SN6. So if you are hoping to get an up close view of Starship SN8, I mean, I think your I think your window of opportunity is unfortunately over. Right after this road closure is over today, I think they're going to work on starting to get the village ready to evacuate, and they are probably going to have the hard checkpoint closed from here on out. So I'm not sure it's even possible to get close to Starship SN8 again. So hopefully, or unless it lands. So hopefully it's going to land, and then in a couple of days we'll be able to get up close to it again. But I mean, it is really game time right now for Starship SN8.
Yeah, we have a
And
couple. Go ahead, Chris.
yeah,
I
I was
think you're
sorry.
about
I was
to
just
ask
going
the
to
same
say
thing I
there's a
am.
question. I just threw a question up on screen that's really germane to what we were just talking about there.
Yeah, so Michael, do we know what we know the residents of the village, Mary, I know NSF member Nomad is out there. We know they're expected to have to evacuate the village at some point. What's the sort of timeline and when are we expecting to hear about that? Because that'll be a big sign that the flight is getting ready to go.
So I think Andy, who was the other who's another Boca Chica resident on the forums, posted that they were going to start the evacuations in the evening. So that's what we're going to look for. I don't think they've been given a notice, though. I could be wrong. but I know they've been in communication with them, and that SpaceX has obviously been organizing this for a long time. So, um, I don't know if a paper notice like we see for the static fire is just a way to communicating this information, but they are definitely communicating this information. So the residents have been told what to do. I don't know the specifics from Mary. I know, SpaceX representative probably does not want us. That's like between them and Mary. It's not for us to like publicly announce specifics, but yes, the village will be evacuated as Elon tweeted on Twitter. I think Elon said anywhere from the production site closer to the launch site has to be evacuated, and that would include the village.
We have another question here that I want to get to quickly. Dean asks, are you allowed to place a camera on a drone with quadpod or tripod to fly very low to getting closer to get a unique offsite perspective? Absolutely not. There are, so like we're talking about road closures and airspace closures, those things apply to drones. This is a no drone zone, no fly zone for drones constantly, even when the TFRs are not active. So that would be a range violation, and SpaceX would be very unhappy with you if you did that. And it's an important note to not just people who might want to fly a drone or something like that. If you are in the Boca Chica area, if you live in South Padre Island or whatever, please pay extra close attention to all of these hazard zones. There's going to be marine hazard zones. I think those are published already, actually. So we saw those go up. But there are zones where you cannot get within a certain radius in a boat. And if you do, that would cause a range violation, and and all of these range violations can cause an actual scrub or delay of the actual test flights. And that will be interfering with SpaceX operations, and SpaceX would not be very happy with you, and you would likely get to meet some very unhappy SpaceX security personnel. You need to be very careful if you are in the area to listen to the local authorities. They will tell you where it is safe to view from and all the best places to see. There are plenty of good places to see if you're down there. But please make sure that you are mindful of all those hazard areas because you do not want to interfere with the actual launch itself. So that's a very important point that I wanted to make. Thank you. Let's see. Some more questions about the flight itself. King asks, will SN8 launch in this flap configuration? That is a great question. If I had to guess, I would say yes. Just for reasons of symmetry and keeping things in control. And then once it reaches sort of the top of its flight profile, the flaps will kind of fold back and get into the position where it'll keep it stable during sort of the belly flap orientation, if you will. I would bet that they're going to launch how that is right now. Don't know that for sure. We'll have to wait and see, but that would be my guess. Let's see. We've got a couple super chats that I want to get through. Let's see. Martin with a super chat. Have they actuated the flaps while the hull is chilled? Could affect the clearance when metal contracts due to temperature. I believe we've only seen them moving the flaps when the vehicle is not fueled or anything like that. So I don't think they have. I would imagine that any sort of slight contraction of the metal due to temperature has been taken into account when they designed the hinges and things like that. So I'm not sure I'd be worried about it. But I don't think we've actually seen them do that. It's possible they'll do that during testing today because we did see them moving the flaps around earlier today. So it's possible that'll be part of this sort of wet dress rehearsal. But good question. Rusty Can, hey y'all, do they use the robotic woof woof for this? Talking about Zeus, the Boston Dynamics robot dog that we've seen out and about. Yeah, we saw Zeus just the other day, I think, on one of the previous, I think the last wet dress rehearsal, we saw them out at the pad doing some measurements and things like that. So they're still around and they're still helping SpaceX get some data when they can't send people to the pad and things like that. They also have that drone that they fly around to kind of do some inspections and things like that. So they have a couple different ways of getting data that way.
And really quickly, Thomas,
Yep.
the notice, I do have the notice to mariners that was posted. This just came out about an hour ago.
Okay.
So here is the marine exclusion zone. It's probably going to be, well, actually, if you have a big screen, you can actually read all that text, I think. So that looks pretty good. But essentially, that is the safety area for this test. And as you can see, it includes all the water in that south bay, south of the launch site, or not. Yeah, I guess I should say not south, but west of the launch site. And then it kind of extends down into Mexico, even. and quite a bit into the Gulf. So long story short, if you want to see the Starship test flight in person, South Padre Island is by far the best place to be. Do not try to get closer than that on a boat or anything like that, because you will likely end up causing a scrub. And you do not want to be the person that scrubs an event that hundreds of thousands of people are watching live. So don't try to get closer so that this test can happen on time. And like I said, South Padre Island is probably about as close as you will be able to get with having confidence that you're not going to be causing any problems. So please just stick to that and don't try to get any closer.
Absolutely. And we also got a super chat here from the Netherlands checking in. Thanks for the awesome streams as always. Well, thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. And Don Clay with a super chat as well. Thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. I'm gonna go.
Hey,
So, go ahead.
Thomas, real quick. I'm just gonna jump in there, and I've got a message here to say hi to Stephanie, who says that we're all a bunch of huge nerds. So, how's it going on the back end there? And we are a bunch of huge nerds. I think we completely agree. I think this is up on the big TV in the house, and somebody's maybe complaining that it's taking up the TV, but whatever. We are a bunch of huge nerds. So, we appreciate y'all watching. Thank you for that.
We
Go
also
ahead,
got
Thomas. Yeah.
we also got a super chat here from Kiwi Chris with the New Zealand dollars. Nice name. So appreciate your telemetry. Well, I don't know if we're providing telemetry, but we're providing television or something. I don't know. That's kind of close. Thank you so much for the super chat. Let's see. Talking about some future things, Kenny with a question. Do we have an idea how different SN15 is going to be? Elon has mentioned that it would have some big changes at that point. Yeah, so I believe that's kind of the point in the production line, and we've seen parts from SN15 and SN16, I believe. I say we, Mary has seen parts for SN15 and SN16 in the production site, and we haven't observed anything like radically different yet, but we've only seen like sort of small ring sections and things like that.
Sorry, Thomas, really quick. Looks like we're seeing frost on the liquid oxygen tank.
Oh, yep. So the tanks are starting to frost up. That confirms that fueling is definitely underway at this point. But yeah, I don't think we know any specific changes that we're expecting yet. It might be a lot of minor things, minor improvements based on previous flights and previous tests. They might learn some things from this flight coming up tomorrow that they'll incorporate sort of down the line. So I don't think we have any big changes. Michael, do we know what kind of things they might be looking at to improve down the line a bit?
Yeah, I think Elon had mentioned welding, but
Okay.
at least from what the small pieces of Starship SN15 that Mary spotted, I did not notice anything drastically different. But it might just be the type of thing it's a change. You just can't really see it quite as well. But it's only in small pieces right now, so we'll have to see when it becomes closer to being fully assembled if we can see any more drastic differences. But Elon's tweet was major upgrades are slated for SN15, and that was. I'm trying to see the context. Never mind. I was wrong. That was not with a question about welding in particular. So never disregard the welding comment. All we have
Okay.
is major upgrades are slated for SN15, and Elon did not say what.
All right. Well, we'll have to stay tuned then. King with another question. How long from liftoff till landing? And I think I might have done the thing where it disappears from the queue again, but I did see the question. We don't have like an exact flight profile or anything. It should be on the order of just a few minutes, like less than 5 minutes. Because it's not going to super high altitude. The best thing to kind of compare it to, if you've seen a Blue Origin New Shepard rocket, those launches take like 8 to 10 minutes or something like that, and this is going way lower than that. So we're talking like less than 5 minutes on the way up and down. So it'll be a relatively short flight, but it'll probably be exciting the entire time. So, but we don't have a like exact estimate, I don't believe. Steven, how far could SN8 theoretically go off course in a worst case or control loss scenario? So we did just show the hazard zones, which would encompass anywhere they expect Starship to fall should anything go wrong. Keep in mind that we do believe they've installed a flight termination system on Starship, so if it's going way off course, the flight termination system would activate and actually destroy the vehicle before it flies any further, and that'll keep it within the hazard zones that they've published in the airspace restrictions and things like that. So it's somewhere like 5 miles from the launch pad, ish. Again, they're not exact circles; they're sort of different zones, so that's not an exact number, but it should stay horizontally within a couple miles of the pad. Elijah asked, "Why does the aft fin not, or aft right fin look not fully extended?" I think that's just our camera angle because we're not viewing it exactly head on. Mary's kind of off to the side from the fins a little bit, so I think it is extended fully. I think it's just our camera angle that makes it look a little foreshortened there. Andrew has a question for Das, I believe. Hey Das, do each of our cameras have their own name?
Have their own names. They don't have friendly names yet. I'm still working on friendly names, but there's just definitely a numbering system.
Okay.
It starts with 0. You can't just name like camera 1, camera 2, camera 3, because then when you get to 9, what are you gonna do, right? So the cameras are named 2-digit character or 2-digit numbers, right? So like 01, 02, 05, 08, that sort of way. Because then we can get to 99 cameras and all completely just go insane and end up gibbering in a corner because that's probably too many cameras to handle, honestly. 99's a lot. And I did start with 0. Trey Greer says, nice to hear you start with 0. The original development camera was actually a NSF 00 because I started it with 0. So anyways, good question.
So really 100 cameras.
Yeah, technically 100 cameras. That's correct.
Let's see here. Chrono Blitz, how fast will the wings move in the air during free fall? So I remember when we saw the flaps moving earlier, it's pretty slow, but I mean we haven't really seen them do a whole lot of testing. We haven't seen what they might look like during actual flight maneuvers. It'll be interesting to see if they do some of that during today's testing, because that would be very cool. But we might not really get a good sense of how quickly those services actuate until it actually goes into flight. We're gonna have to wait and see. We have a new tweet from Mary. Can we show this on stream? Michael, do we know?
Sorry, what was the question?
Can we show? Mary just had a new tweet go up. Can we show that?
Of course we can. Let me see. Oh, it's a video though?
It's a video, yeah.
Oh, that's harder.
Whoops.
How about we link it in chat?
Yeah,
What
we'll
we're gonna
link it
do
in
is
chat.
yeah, I'll link it into chat here.
Let's do
And
that.
even
I
if we showed
believe
like I could show the video, Thomas, but if you this is the important part of this is audio.
that's
And
true.
so you'll want to listen to this, go click on that tweet and go turn on your speakers so you can actually hear that.
Absolutely. I believe Mary caught some SN8 venting sounds earlier, right?
Loud.
And it was loud. So go check out that tweet from Mary, who is tweeting and live streaming at once. Question here, the weather looks great, but what would happen if a thunderbolt strikes Starship? So I believe, I mean, we talked about this a bit before. We know sort of the weather criteria for a Starship launch has been something that is very of high interest. Especially a lot of people point out that, hey, there's no lightning protection system at the launch site and things like that. Starship is designed to be able to take a lightning strike. It is designed to sort of be grounded when it's on the test stand and be resilient against that kind of thing in flight, I believe. Although that might still be a launch weather criteria. We know it's safe on the pad. Of course, if weather is a concern, that is certainly something that can scrub a flight. We know it's looking good for tomorrow, last we heard, at least based on the most recent forecasts. But it's also something that we're keeping an eye on because we know SpaceX wants to use Starship for some sort of Earth-to-Earth transportation things, and that sort of operation needs to be able to happen in some adverse weather conditions. Think of it if you canceled or delayed airline flights as often as we delay sort of orbital launches for weather. Air travel would be a much more difficult industry. So it's kind of a similar thing to that sort of question going with Starship, because Starship wants to fly over and over again and very often and very frequently. So that's something that we're keeping an eye on. But SpaceX knows their weather constraints for the current vehicles and where Starship might evolve down the line to be more resilient against weather and things like that. So that's all something that SpaceX is working on.
There's that other view of the production site from our robot on South Padre Island, and I think if you look really closely, you can actually see Starship SN9 sticking out from the right-hand side of that high bay, which is the tallest building on the right-hand side of your screen. And if all goes well with Starship SN8, I mean, SN9 is fully assembled already, so presumably SN9 would be going to the launch site in very short order. So that is really cool, and that just goes to show that whatever happens to Starship SN8, as long as it does not, cause significant damage to the launch site infrastructure, SpaceX is going to be able to continue the test campaign very quickly. So I don't think actually getting Starship SN8 back is a big deal. Of course, I mean, it would be a big deal if they land it, because that proves their technology is really far along already. But if they have an anomaly into flight, as long as they do not damage the launch site, they should be able to get right back on track quickly and use all that data that they gathered from SN8 to apply into SN9. So the fact that
And not
SN9 is already ready is pretty incredible.
and not just SN9 either. I mean, SN9 is clearly the most complete, being the next one in line. But 10 and 11 are both in the mid bay right now. I believe the tank sections for both of those are basically complete. So, when those cones are ready for 10 and 11, seemingly they'll be able to slap them on them and get them ready to go very quickly as well. So the production cadence at Boca Chica is absolutely astounding.
Hold up. Hang on a second, y'all.
Yes, Das.
There
What's
we
that?
go.
Aha!
Finally.
Is that a jack feed? Is that what we're looking at?
Yeah, that is also from South Padre Island, but we finally were able to beat the DSLR camera into submission. Watch, it's gonna die. But that is a closer view from South Padre Island. Jack over there, right along the water at the ship channel. You can see it's sort of the same angle as the robot that's mounted way up on the tower, but it has better color, that's for sure, because it's a nicer camera. So that is yet another view we've got there. And Jack, this is a crude camera with Jack out there, and you can see a little bit of venting. Actually, is that Starship venting?
Yep.
Yep. Wow.
That's Starship
on both
venting.
sides.
That's a great view.
We'll move up to LOX venting on our timeline, because quite clearly those vent ports, we think those are 4 Raptors. And look at that on Mary's camera. Wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Are opening up. So very cool. You can actually see some condensation from the methane tank too now. So lots of propellant going into Starship SN8. And like we've seen with the previous wet dress rehearsal, I think on Thursday evening, we start to see a lot more frost with these tests, because for the flight, it's going to be a lot more propellant than they typically put in for static fires.
I want to touch on something that we were talking about earlier. We were talking about Earth to Earth briefly. We had a question in the queue about it. Are they planning to use Starship on its own for Earth to Earth flights rather than using the booster? I think Elon has mentioned that Starship can do sort of Earth to Earth transportation without the Super Heavy booster. Although I would imagine that depends on how much you're carrying, how many passengers or how much cargo you're carrying on that flight, and plus where the destination is. If it's maybe a shorter sort of flight that's not necessarily halfway around the world, maybe maybe it might be a mix. I'm not sure. We know Elon has mentioned that they might be able to do it that way. But it's also, but like the official animation from SpaceX shows a Super Heavy booster being used. So I think it might be a little bit of both. Maybe planning to try one or the other. It's definitely a possibility, however. Good question. We have so many questions in the queue, and I'm trying to get through all of them. We also have some super chats that have come in that I should probably go through as well. Patrick says, "Can I get another yeet?" Yeet.
Yeet.
Thanks for the super chat. Jeff with the new membership. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoy.
Really quick, Josh, can we get a view of Jack's camera one more time? I want to see something.
Sure. There you go.
Okay, yeah. I think I think all three tri-vents are happening right now. We just cannot see the one because of the way the flap is in the wind direction. But
Oh.
I think on Jack's maybe you can see it. That's what our Discord is telling me right now. But it's really
Yeah,
hard to tell.
it does look like it. I mean, there's certainly the venting on the right and left-hand side, and if you look at it does look like there may be two different streams on the left-hand side, those back two vents that are hidden by the flaps. I think that's a pretty good catch.
Cool.
So from this Jack's view, where is Mary's camera? To the right of this?
To the right, yes.
Okay, gotcha.
And clearly a lot closer.
Yes.
You like that? How I click the button and then all right.
Nicely done. Let's see here. The Bill with the super chat. What about the relighting of the Raptors during the last part of? Oh, someone changed the question when I was in the middle of reading it.
And now it's gone.
I didn't catch the rest of that question.
The queue jumped. I'm sorry. The
Oh,
queue
it's
jumped
okay,
right as I went to click something. I'm so
Uh,
sorry. I didn't see the rest of the question that was on the screen either. Let me go find it. I'll go back in the broadcast and find it.
okay.
I
I
can
was.
probably recover it. 1 second.
Michael does have some tricks in the queue to recover lost questions.
Do we know who sent it?
I don't know. It was a super chat.
It was a super chat. I think was
It
it
was
from
something about
Bill?
relighting Raptors.
Yes, I got it. Okay. 1 second. I'm jiggling it, and I should have it back in the queue in a
Michael's pulling the
second.
levers and pressing the buttons.
There we
Uh-huh.
go. It's
Pay
back.
no attention to the man behind the curtain. Like that's what I
There we
do.
go.
Okay,
Thank you,
there you
Michael.
go.
Oh, the Bill, thank you again for your super chat. And sorry that I got cut off there. What about the relighting of the Raptors during the last part of the landing maneuver? Is this and propellant transition the big hurdles tomorrow? I believe those are two very big things. Although it's possible that they've actually tested handing off the fuel flow between like the header tanks and things like that during their previous static fire tests. I don't know if we've confirmed that, but I think that was a rumor going around at least. So it's possible that that's not a super high risk item. They might have done that already. Relighting the Raptors in flight is definitely something to keep an eye out for. Now, we know they've done several static fire tests. All of those have been successful Raptor ignitions. However, all static fire tests can be held and delayed if a problem arises, a couple seconds before ignition or whatever. Can't do that if you're falling from the sky. You've only got one shot. So it's sort of a higher stakes scenario. But that is definitely one of the biggest hurdles that SpaceX will hope to hurdle tomorrow. And I think if they get that far, if they get to the landing maneuver and begin it, that will be more than enough to say they have advanced Starship development with that test flight. It doesn't have to be a complete success in the fact that they actually land the thing. As long as they get farther than they have ever gone before, that is a huge success, which honestly, getting to 12.5 kilometers altitude would also accomplish that. So as long as they get, a successful initial liftoff and get some good powered ascent under their belt, I think that's a big win for SpaceX. And we know that Starship SN8 is right on its heels, ready to fly more test flights. So that's kind of where we're setting our expectations are for tomorrow. And again, it's no
Yeah,
earlier than tomorrow.
Thomas, if it gets above 151 meters, it's a success. It's a success.
That's true. That's a good point. And plus,
I-
even then, this will be the first time a vehicle flies under 3 Raptors and has, the nose cone and the fins and stuff. So even a liftoff of that vehicle is a step forward.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I think as long as they don't damage the launch site,
That
I
will
mean,
be true.
and I would narrow that down too. Like even if they damage the landing pad, that's probably not a big deal as long as they do not damage the launch infrastructure because they can like repave the landing pad and fill in the crater fairly easily. But if they take out the tank farm, that's a bigger problem.
Yes, but not unrecoverable.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But
For
it
sure.
would certainly be it would be more of a setback
Yeah.
than splashing down in the Gulf.
They can build a new tank farm and whatnot if they had to. It would just take more time.
I think we're all more worried about destroying Hopper. I will
mean-
worry more. I worry more about Hopper than the tank farm, to be honest.
I hope I don't jinx it, but Hopper has survived everything thrown at it so far, including
true.
a
Detonation.
SN4 detonation a couple 100 feet away. So
That's true.
Hopper is a
Hopper is a
tank.
resilient vehicle there. Just
Hopper's
one
like,
more- Go
Hopper's like, move me closer, move me closer.
Just one more with the super chat. Can you go over the size of this thing? So Starship, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, is 50 meters tall. 50? Pretty sure that's the height, and it is 9 meters in diameter. So that gives you a sort of sense of scale. And we'll have to go if you go back and go, especially if you go to like Mary's Twitter feed or something like that, you'll find pictures of Starship with humans for scale, and that's of course the best way to figure out just how big this vehicle is. But 50 meters tall and 9 meters diameter is, I believe, the dimensions of the Starship vehicle.
You are 100% correct on this.
Excellent. David Sharp, I wonder if the LOX header tank will be moved aft once the payload section is full of equipment and deck structures shifting the center of gravity. I believe, the LOX header tank's pretty small. It only fills like the very tip of the nose cone. And I believe it is there for distribution of mass purposes as far as the landing goes. I guess if you have payload bay infrastructure up front, that might be able to serve that purpose and they can get rid of the header tank at the very top, but I'm not sure. They might also keep it. It's small. You could just fit the payload bay underneath, like sort of underneath it, and I think you'd have plenty of room to do that. But I'm not sure. I guess that's certainly possible. I guess it depends on how exactly they design their payload section for the different variants too, because you have to remember Starships will have a couple different variants. It'll have a tanker variant, it'll have a crew variant, a moon lander variant, it'll probably have a Mars variant, a satellite deployer variant. There's a couple different roles it'll fill, and those will have sort of different payload sections. So I think it depends on that. Good question, and thank you for the super chat. Infinite Puffin with the super chat that says something for the DOS camera fund. I'm sure DOS greatly appreciates it. So do we.
Wait, DOS camera fund? Wait, did somebody say cameras?
We do have a DOS camera fund. more cameras in our camera account.
All right, I'm paying attention. You have my attention now.
You had my curiosity. Now you have my attention. Someone in our Discord, thank you, has just pointed out that the nose cone is getting frosty, so there's that LOX header tank getting fueled.
Yep.
Have we seen it then? If we've seen it then in chat, let me know, and I will upgrade or update our timeline. But the header tank venting is typically something we see some venting coming from as that gets filled up.
It might be difficult because I know we've seen it very clearly in night test and day test. It might be difficult to see, but hopefully we'll keep an eye on it. Shout out to Nerd in the NSF Discord for pointing that out to me. Sometimes I'm too busy reading the super chat queue to keep an eye on, Starship. Mr. Fusion with a super chat question. Is this the first time the second stage of a new launch system has flown under its own power before the first stage was developed? Huh. Well. All right. Does Shuttle count? Because Shuttle was doing free flight tests before the boosters flew.
Does that count as under its own power,
No.
though?
Oh, that's true. It's not under its own power. All right, so that doesn't count. That's true.
It was cool. Doesn't count.
But it's not under its own. But yeah, different question. And I don't know if you call really the orbiter the second stage anyway. Sort of a stage and a half deal. What?
Okay, sorry. Thank you, Thomas, because I have always considered the shuttle to be a 1.5 stage to orbit rocket. Because if you light the stage on the ground and you jettison two things off the side, this is why I also think Soyuz is a 2-stage rocket. Anyway, that's a total conversation for another time. But thank you for also sharing that view of the shuttle.
Oh yeah. Soyuz is definitely a 2-stage rocket. Do people?
Yeah, but
well, they've been called the boosters.
all the press kits call it a 3-stage rocket.
Because they call the boosters its own
Thomas.
stage. Sorry.
Look, there's venting from the where we have not seen before.
Oh,
next to
wow.
each flap.
Oh, that's
on
yes.
the forward section.
Like flap venting.
Yeah, I don't know what we call that. I think we'll add a timeline status.
It looks like ear venting. In the cartoons when somebody gets really mad and like smoke comes out their ears, they're like, I want to fly, and like smoke coming out the ears. That's what I'm gonna call it.
Sorry, Michael. I was talking about Shuttle.
Shuttle is not as cool as flap venting, okay?
New venting. It's new venting we haven't seen before. That's what it is.
I feel like I'm now gonna get pinged in our NSF Discord every time something happens. I feel like I've opened myself up to that now. Oh well, I appreciate you guys. All right, where were we? We were talking about stages and a
I'm
half.
sorry. Look at the outline of the common dome there. How prominent that is on the frost line there on the lower part.
We saw that during the other wet dress rehearsal, but then it all frosted over anyway. I'm not sure that's actually what that is.
But the common dome is flipped the other way,
Yeah,
right?
the dome's the other way. We talked about this
Oh,
during
is
the
it?
other stream. Yeah, the first time I saw it, I was like, oh look, you can see the dome. But that also doesn't make sense because the dome is not. Well, I guess it kind of is. But it's flipped the other way inside Starship, so that's not actually what that is. I don't know why it does that shape. I've been thinking about it, and I haven't figured out a new hypothesis. But it's not the dome because the dome's facing the other way. It's very weird. But we saw it during the other wet dress rehearsal too.
I'm thinking about it. I can't tell you why.
Yeah. If you have an idea in chat, please share because we're stumped.
Unless that's the bottom. Could that be the? It's hard. I'm trying to count the rings. Could that be the bottom part of the methane tank, and it just sort of goes down? It sort of the coldness moves down the stainless steel into the top of the LOX tank. Could that possibly have something to do with it? I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm just watching that thing at the top.
Wow,
Yeah.
like a big one ear vent there.
You know, I think we're really gonna start calling this ear venting, aren't we?
Oh, I am. I mean,
Okay.
you can't turn off my microphone. What are you gonna do?
That's
Like,
true. I can't. You're right. Um, actually, can I just? Well, I guess I can mute you for myself. I can't mute you for the
yeah,
stream.
you couldn't hear me, but everybody else would still hear me. What good is that gonna do you? All good. We're all friends here.
Yes, I remember I've talked about this before. When you're seeing sort of getting ready for a launch, when you see the vehicle start to vent and get frosty or whatever from cold propellants and things like that, that's the kind of thing that lets you set in that things are really happening and it's kind of getting real. Seeing Starship venting from all of the different propellant tanks right now is making this very real. Even though the launch is not till tomorrow, this is becoming very exciting, I must say.
Yeah, that's a lot of venting. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a fantastic view. It's so pretty out there today, nice and clear, and that's just a lot of venting right now.
I got to keep going through the super chat queue, otherwise we'll never answer everybody. Harry Young, another regular in the stream, says he's hyped for tomorrow. Good thing I have a day off, so hopefully they don't scrub and manage to keep the wayward boats in check. I agree. I know I have a final exam tomorrow evening, so they better fly before then. But yes, I'm also very excited, and I know the rest of the team is too. And hoping for the people in Boca Chica to stay responsible and not cause any wayward boats, because that would be a problem.
Yeah, as excited as I am for flight, I'm still in a state of like disbelief because it's been pushed by a day or 2 days so many times now that even though tomorrow is really firming up and looks to be the day, I'm still just like I've been hurt. Okay, I've been hurt, but
Ex-
really, I'm so excited. I'm so very excited.
Jock, just expect a scrub, and if your expectations are beat, you'll end up happier than if you were expecting a launch and ended up with a scrub.
There you go. Yeah, good way to look at it, Michael.
Under promise, over deliver.
Exactly.
Classic.
No C with the super chat. Thank you so much. Here's a super chat question from J Root, I believe. It's a lot of cool characters in your name. Nice username. Are they going to have a pre-launch check of the flight control services and thrusters and things like that? Don't know. We don't really have a way to know that for sure. SpaceX, of course, doesn't really give a whole lot of official info about these things, although they have acknowledged tomorrow's test flight. But they haven't said anything about that. It's possible that they will. We'll keep an eye on it and, of course, report on it if that does happen. But we don't know for sure. We know they've been moving the flaps around. We see them fully extended now, so they've done some sort of pre-flight checks. Don't know if they'll do any like right before liftoff or anything like that, though.
Yeah.
Michael with a new membership. Thank you so much. Thanks for joining on. Tesla versus the world asks which Tesla model is flying in SN8. I think this flight might be so risky they didn't even put a Tesla on board. But maybe a future Starship demo will have a Tesla. I know there's been people wanting to put a Tesla Semi on board because got to scale it up with the rocket. Thank you for the super chat though. Proper sensitive, what do you think about a half-size booster for intercontinental travel? So talking about that Earth-to-Earth point we were talking about earlier, I think it would make more sense to just use the normal super heavy booster, just for commonality. You don't want to have too many variants if you don't need to. I think if you want a booster, you just use the full-size super heavy booster. I don't think you need to have two different sizes. Mostly because I think that the difference in performance wouldn't be too significant. Might not be worth the extra effort to have a shorter um, booster, but could be something that SpaceX is considering. I won't rule it out. Um, it'll be interesting to see. Hopefully, we'll hear more once Starship gets a little farther in development. We'll hear more details about how Starship operations will actually go. I know I'm really excited to hear when Starship is ready to make its first trip to Mars, what the payload manifest will be like on that flight and things like that. What sort of cargo they're going to want to bring on their first landing attempt on Mars and things like that. Those kind of nitty gritty details is something I want to hear about, and is understandable that we haven't yet, considering how early in development we are. But things like that, things how they're going to implement Earth to Earth, definitely want to hear more about that as we go forward. So. Super chat here that says it's called Dumbo venting. Thank you. So there you go,
Dumbo venting.
Christian with the super chat. Will it go supersonic during ascent and or descent? So I have been doing some math in the background, and I will hopefully be able to share some of that later today. I'm trying to figure out what exactly to expect for the flight as far as flight time and things like that. And if my math is correct, which is a big asterisk there, but if it is, I believe it will actually go supersonic on the way up, but not on the way down. Remember, on the way down, it's going to go down belly first, and so its drag is much higher, and thus it'll keep itself at a much slower terminal velocity. It should stay subsonic on the way down, and I believe Elon slash SpaceX, I think just Elon, has said that this flight will not produce sonic booms on the ground, because on the way down it will be subsonic the entire time. If you're going upwards and go supersonic, the sonic booms propagate upward, which is why, whenever a launch happens at Cape Canaveral, for example, you don't hear the sonic booms, even though all of those vehicles are going supersonic. So I think a similar deal might happen with Starship. I think it will actually go supersonic on the way up, but it will not on the way down, I believe, is our expectation there.
Yeah, the FAA document that came out in July that I always love to bring up said that SpaceX doesn't expect the vehicles to go supersonic until they are around re-entering from altitudes of 30 kilometers or higher. So this
Okay.
only going up to 12.5 kilometers doesn't reach that 30-kilometer threshold. Even if it had stayed at 15 kilometers, it seems like it wouldn't have reached that threshold.
Was that for sonic booms though, or was that for going supersonic? Because there is a difference.
I think I think it might have been for sonic booms. So
Yeah,
good point.
That's
Right,
what I
exactly.
thought too.
Yeah,
So
good point.
that's why we're talking about on the way down, will it go supersonic? Because that's what would produce a sonic boom that you can hear on the ground. If it goes supersonic on the way up, no boom is heard on the ground. So I think that's what they're referring to, because I believe this flight, and I'll show my math as soon as it's finished, hopefully later tonight. If you follow me on Twitter, you'll see it there, and I'll try and post it on our Discord and things like that. But I do believe this will actually go supersonic on the way up. I think they have to, unless they throttle Raptor really extremely. I think it will probably go about Mach 1.5 on the way up in order to get to 12.5 kilometers. But we'll have to wait and see. They
How
could do
much?
some engine throttling to mitigate that.
What are you considering to be the full thrust? And is it at full thrust for the majority of the ascent, or are you thinking there is going to be some throttling?
Yeah, I'm using the, what is it, 2200 units, whatever that is. What's our expected Raptor thrust off the top of my head? I can't remember.
2200
I'm using 2200
kilonewtons?
kilonewtons as,
Kilonewtons, yeah, that makes sense.
yeah. So that's what I was using. But again, I'm gonna work on that more and see if I can get some harder numbers. But
So you have that the entire time, or do you have like throttling built in?
I do not. So that's with a very simple full throttle burn and then a coast
Okay.
up to 12.5 kilometers is the math that I did.
Okay. So
So
probably some. So I would say then your calculation is probably like the maximum possible.
right,
velocity
exactly.
hit.
But
The
it shouldn't
ac-
be off by half a Mach.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
which is why I'm
Half a
thinking
Mach.
it would probably still go supersonic. But again,
I'm
I'll share
looking.
more on that once I have it.
I'm
But
looking at the flight club data, bringing it up.
yeah, and I do want to look at what Declan did on Flight Code because I want to compare with him.
If you don't know what Flight Club is, go to flightclub.io in a web browser, and Declan Murphy built a simulation tool that you can use to analyze predicted trajectories of rocket launches, including the hop. So that's what I was talking about.
Has anybody looked in the the store channel?
I have been seeing the
Is
store
there a
channel,
new product?
Not yet, but I mean, that's pretty fantastic what the graphics designer Mark did. Amongst other things, he does all sorts of stuff, not just graphics design. But did y'all see the little serial number he added?
Yes.
That's pretty cool. Chat, don't worry, we'll show y'all later what we're talking about.
Yeah.
We got a lot of stuff going on right now.
I think by tomorrow on our broadcast, we'll definitely have it ready in time.
A related question, we were talking about will it go supersonic? Another question, at which point will SN8 experience the maximum stress? I'm assuming you're talking about sort of max Q, max dynamic pressure, a very key point in many orbital launches and things like that. Because it's not going very high, and the flight will not only last a couple minutes, I believe the point of maximum stress will actually be at the instant right before MECO. When they shut down the engines, I believe the dynamic pressure will still be increasing. Of course, as soon as they shut down the engines, the vehicle will start slowing down, and the dynamic pressure will start going down. So the max Q will actually occur at MECO, I'm pretty certain.
Yeah. And really quickly, the Flight Club predicted maximum velocity is 425 meters per second, which would be past the speed of sound.
Yes. So there you go. So Flight Club IO also predicting a supersonic on the way up, right?
Yeah, not on the way down.
I'm now daydreaming of the supersonic, the transonic clouds that sometimes occur, like we saw with
Oh,
Sentinel-6.
yes.
Imagine a giant transonic cloud caused by Starship, or like some sort of massive shock cone. Oh, I'm getting really excited now.
Geez, if only we had photographers in Boca Chica who might be able to capture that. Is that a challenge accepted, Jack?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really hoping to bring home the goods. Fingers crossed, but you never know. It looks like that LOX tank is starting to frost up the
Absolutely.
the rest of it now. Yeah.
So you can see the rest of that locks tank frosting over. I'm talking too fast for my own good. But yeah, if you are just joining us, we are keeping an eye on Starship SN8 during a final wet dress rehearsal before tomorrow's launch attempt. No launch today, that's tomorrow, but some final pre-launch testing. And I've been asked to reintroduce everyone who's actually here on the stream you're listening to right now, Thomas Burkhart. I'm an editor and reporter for NASASpaceflight. I'm also joined by Das, our live stream producer extraordinaire. Das, what's up?
Hey, what's up, y'all? How's it going?
And we've also got Michael Baylor, also working on the live stream production. Michael, what's up?
How's it going, everyone?
And we've also got Jack Byer, who's down in Boca Chica crewing one of our other cameras. Jack, how you doing?
Oh, look, I can
Technically,
actually...
I'm on South Padre Island. I am not in Boca Chica for this, but that
yes,
is
sir.
my view that you are seeing right now. That is through a 300 millimeter lens and a crop sensor camera. So 1.6 times crop. So what is that, like something around number of millimeters? 300.
Sounds like math.
Yeah, some
Math.
kind of math. But yeah, that's my view right now. Isla Blanca Park, 300 millimeters crop sensor.
And we've
Nice.
also got Chris Gebhardt, who's in and around and doing some backside support. I don't know if he's still on comms. He might say hi every once in a while.
Hello.
There he is.
I'm the one who'll pop in to distract the entire stream with non-germane conversations about the space shuttle.
Yeah, if you say shuttle, he'll appear. So, and of course, this stream is of course only possible because of Mary down in Boca Chica crewing the camera you're currently seeing. I don't know if she's on comms right now, but she's here and she can see all your support. So everyone say hi to Mary in chat real quick because she's here too. Meanwhile, I am still struggling to keep up with the super chat queue and the question queue, so I'm going to keep trying my best and we'll just keep the conversation going as Starship continues to vent and get frosty.
Well, I actually have a question, if I
Okay,
may.
Chris, go for it.
Thomas, yeah. Are the flaps going to be extended like this for liftoff, or are they going to be folded in for liftoff and then expand and then be moved back out as it starts to reach apogee? Do we know?
I don't think we know yet.
I speculate that it'll be as we see them right now, fully extended just for symmetry purposes.
I would tend to agree. Yeah, we don't know yet, but I bet it's extended like this.
That would be my bet. But we will not know for sure until tomorrow, obviously, or until whenever they actually fly. But that would be my guess, just because you want to have your forces symmetric as possible, and if you have the wings folded back, that might create some weird aero control. But I'm not sure for sure.
I mean, it's a guess, but since this is a wet dress rehearsal for the flight, I would think they would be doing the wet dress rehearsal for the flight like they will for the flight.
That's true.
And right now, the flaps are open, they are not tethered, so they could, I guess, fairly easily adjust them if they wanted to. So I would think what we're seeing right now is how they will be positioned for the flight. But also on those lines, I wonder if we might see them test the flaps at some point during the test, because again, they are untethered right now, and this is the first test we've seen with them being untethered during propellant loading operations, I believe. They actually were, a couple of hours ago, we saw them doing some flap tests, so hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll get some flapping action here shortly.
It would make sense if they wanted to. I mean, testing your aero surfaces on a winged vehicle that have to work once you lift off would be a fairly critical point in the countdown with the vehicle in flight configuration. So
we will wait and see, but it was certainly a possibility. I'm gonna try and get through some more super chat questions. Ron with the super chat, thank you so much. The dome only separates the two gases, so the cold methane is in that shape. Oh, so we're talking about that sort of frost shape that we saw. Is that true?
I mean, there is a dome in there, but the methane tank, the dome is actually convex on the
Right, it's the
bottom, and we see
other
what
way.
seems to be a concave shape. Is the
Right.
the weirdness there, I guess.
Yeah.
I wonder if we do. Can we pull up one of the? I know there's a bunch of people that makes graphics of like what the tanks look like in the Starship. I know some people have that we've worked with at NASASpaceflight do that. Do we have one of those that we could pull up and maybe show how the tank structure inside looks like?
Yeah, I'll link one in chat right now. It's one actually Raphael made today that looks absolutely awesome. I mean, I want this on a t-shirt. Raphael, make these into a t-shirt, please, so I can buy one. Seriously, looks awesome. And you can see the shape of the tankage sections, and you can see what we're talking about. The shape of the domes there at the bottom are the opposite to what we would expect.
Michael,
can,
The way the frosting.
yeah, I can get this on stream. This is from a NASASpaceflight community member.
Yes.
I'm getting all the graphics up for tomorrow just by doing this. So that's good.
Yeah. Carlos with the new membership, thank you so much. Hope you enjoy. We really do appreciate it. Rick asking with the super chat, are the lower flaps acting as a heat sink? I would bet that the effect of extending the flaps is a relatively negligible effect on thermal properties, but I guess I could be wrong there. I think it would be a larger effect. Like I know they've done testing during the day and during a night. I feel like that would have a larger effect on sort of the temperatures they're experiencing versus just extending the flaps or not. But I don't know. That's a good question. I might not rule that out. There is that graphic from Raphael, one of our NSF community members, and if we go back to, there we go.
Got it.
You can kind of see. I know the rest of the tank is starting frosting over, so you can't really see
It
it
looks like
perfectly.
there might be a depressed vent right now.
I know. I just saw that.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at from the side angle.
So it's possible that they've actually just completed the wet dress rehearsal, or they're aborting or something.
Nice.
But we'll keep an eye on that. But you can kind of see the outline of where that shape was earlier, and if you go back in the stream, you'll see exactly what we're talking about. But the dome at that point in the vehicle is actually facing the other way. So it's not the outline of the dome we're seeing there. That's an awesome, but we need to make that into a t-shirt or a poster. Raphael totally endorse that idea.
Yeah, I'm gonna put Raphael's Twitter and chat again. I think we already did, but make sure if you have not already, you go follow him because he makes some awesome graphics of Starship that are really helpful in understanding how this complex vehicle works.
Yeah, and not just like straight up shapes or anything, but he'll go into the plumbing and be extremely accurate with measurements and whatnot. So super cool. And I think he's gonna get that T-shirt up on a store of his own or something. And I think he's having some computer issues, so hopefully he can get that up on a T-shirt store and we can all buy a bunch of them and help him out.
Ron Smith with the Shabbat says, "Go Planet Express ship." Thank you so much, Ron. We appreciate it. And go Starship. Uh, if SpaceX's webcast time is correct and it's 12 UTC, I need to watch the launch in class. Thanks for all the coverage you guys rock. So just keep in mind, I know SpaceX has their sort of live stream schedule for tomorrow. That's for the very opening of the window. In fact, might even be slightly before. And that timeline is going to be very fluid. So keep an eye out. Keep an eye out for our coverage and our updates on social media. Of course, we will definitely be live as soon as like the pad gets cleared for the launch. Is probably when we'll start our coverage. And SpaceX will very likely not go live until fueling is probably well underway and they're getting close to launch, just because there's no reason for them to be live, an hour ahead of time. So keep an eye on that and keep an eye on where those sort of live streams shift, because that'll give you a good idea of when things are actually going to happen. It's a very long window tomorrow, and because of the testing nature of this flight, it's a very fluid schedule.
Yep. And it looks like I think we might move up to detanking here because it looks like those liquid oxygen vents at the bottom are kind of I guess, what's the word I'm trying to say? Reducing in velocity. I'll go with that.
Sure.
It seems like they are moving into detanking operations. And again, we saw that depress vent, which is usually a good sign that they have passed the T0 for today's test, which of course does not include a Raptor ignition. So there's no obvious indicator of when the T0 actually was. But now, based on the fact that we see them depressing, assuming it went well, we should be past the T0, and they are now working to save the launch vehicle.
And I love seeing that detank vent or the depress vent come out, because it looks it's kind of coming right at the camera from this perspective, but you can see the shadow against the frosty tank, and you can see just how big and powerful that vent is. It's pretty cool. Keep an eye out for that, guys. Chad with a super chat that says, "Coast Guard Auxiliary Fund." Thank you so much. Keeping wayward boats off the range. I appreciate it.
Hopefully, they will have lots of. I mean, I can only assume they've been coordinating with the Coast Guard and whatnot for a while, but I do know that violators in the hazard area are a big concern from SpaceX's perspective for this test. So I know we've already said this again, but if you just joined, please do not try to get anywhere near this thing. South Padre Island is the best place to view the launch if you are in the area. Do not try to get closer than that because you risk scrubbing the launch attempt. We know what we all saw what happened with Demo 2 when people were not respectful of hazard zones and whatnot. So please stay safe and don't do anything that could put yourself or this test in danger. So just stay well away from this test. Do not think, oh, I'm going to be clever and try to get a mile or two closer than South Padre Island because I think this area might be okay. No, just don't even risk it. Please do not try to get any closer than South Padre Island.
And this also goes, when you do go out, there are a lot of people interested in seeing this. Remember to keep your distance from everyone. Don't forget what's going around. Don't get sick. Don't, just be safe all around. That includes the exclusion zone, and that includes personally for everyone else as well.
Yes. Ideally, don't even try to see this thing in person. There's going to be our webcast. There's going to be, other third-party webcasts. There's going to be the SpaceX webcast. So there's going to be plenty of camera angles on this thing where you can watch this test safely whenever it happens from your own home. But I know there are people in the area who are obviously going to want to see this thing. So if you are already in the area, South Padre Island with a mask is what to do. But if you're from farther away, please just watch from home.
I'm going to continue chugging through the super chat queue, which keeps growing. We thank you guys so much. We're glad that you love our coverage so much, and we appreciate all the support.
Yeah, and it's an especially huge help when we are on scene for these sorts of things and they keep getting pushed and delayed and delayed and delayed. Your continued support is awesome, y'all. Thank you so much.
Yeah, how much? I don't know if we can say the exact number, but we spent several $100s on a hotel room for the roof, or not the roof of the hotel camera that DOS has been showing on that.
This one.
There it is. There you go.
You can just mention it and I can show it. Like,
yeah, we've been spending several $100s. I think it's like $100 and something per night. So a lot of money on that on that camera, and the test keeps slipping. So because of everyone's super chats, we get to continue to fund such investments, put on a really good stream for everybody. So thank you so much for your support.
Sorry for switching in the middle of that. Do you know how many times I've tried to catch a boat going by Jack's camera? And as soon as you start talking about the robotic camera up on the hotel, that's when the boat goes by. Jeez. But yeah, we did make the decision. It's not a permanent installation. This camera that you see here, the camera that's the one we've had on for a while. Oh, look, you can actually see the same boat there, so you know where Jack is down there. We did make the decision to put this up on a hotel balcony. It's not a permanent installation. It is a deployable. It's like a suitcase deployable camera robot that I made here at home. Then we packaged it up. We sent it down to the Cape to test it out. It did a couple launches down at the Cape, and then the Cape, Chris G packaged it up and sent it to Boca Chica. So this is literally a suitcase deployable camera robot. We got a lot of different ways of powering, a lot of different ways of getting it online. I can log into it remotely, but we're able to do these sorts of things. The place to put it, the room that we've got it in, and also the fact that the robot exists in the first place, the shipping to get it down there, the data plans that get it online.
Exactly.
Go,
I was
Jack.
gonna say the insane rush shipping, like for a 2-day overnight or whatever it was, and not to mention, I went and picked it up from FedEx, and it was like the most gigantic box I've ever seen. I was like, I didn't even know they made boxes this big. So I shudder to think what that cost, but we can do stuff like that with everybody's support. So thank you so much.
Well, the robot is quite small. The robot, its antenna, and its control pack are all pretty small. The big box was the tripod.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The tripod is killer with that thing, and it's almost cheaper to order a new tripod off Amazon than to ship the existing tripod we have. Like, Amazon can make a tripod appear for cheaper than it costs us to ship a tripod. So lesson learned for the future there. Oh, but this is just too much fun. And Jack, I finally caught a boat there. It had a Texas flag on it. It was going by like a tour boat or a fishing boat or something like that. And
Yeah,
I
you gotta
finally caught a
love
boat.
the Texas pride out here. I mean, all of these, so many of these boats are. Oh, another one's about to come by. Switch to me. Switch to me.
Switch to me. Oh no.
You've made a monster. Yeah, I love the Texas pride. A lot of these boats seem to have Texas flags on them, and it's a cool looking flag, and it's a cool state. So it's neat. It's neat to see people supporting their hometown or home state.
Where's this boat I was promised? I don't see the boat. Oh, there it is. It gives some context, though. I mean, it's South Padre Island. When I was growing up, South Padre Island was a massive tourist destination, spring break thing. I grew up in Corpus Christi, and if we didn't just go to the beach there, because we would go to North Padre Island, the big thing to do was go down to South Padre Island. It's such a big tourist destination, and I
Yep.
love shots like that that give some context, that just show there are people here. They're going out fishing. There's a massive campground right behind you, Jack. You can see it in the other robotic camera. There is a big campground back there, and the campground has tons of RVs camping at it. And so just across the waterway, this is the ship channel that Jack's looking across, but just across the waterway, there's all these recreational activities. There's fantastic beaches, condos and places to stay. I mean, restaurants and everything. It's a huge tourist thing. And right across the way, this is almost another tourist attraction, I guess is the right way to call it, right? This huge Starship SpaceX is building right across the way in plain sight. Everyone can see it literally right over here from the the RV park. So anyways, I love that we can get a little context. We're never going to beat these close-up views, right? But there are so many people. It's such a tourist destination just right across this ship channel there, and I love getting those context shots in.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's why I did the 360-degree camera video the other day. It's not the best video in the world or anything, nothing really crazy fancy, but it just helps you, if you've never been to Boca Chica, sort of get a feel for what it's like to actually be there. So all the context we can give the viewers, the better.
Yep, absolutely. And we'll have even more angles when this thing jumps. We'll have even more angles on it. So
I do want to get back into the super chat queue, and I apologize, but you know, us commentators like to keep blabbering on with our mouths, and the super chat queue keeps going. So I'm going to try and speed run a few really quick. We were talking earlier about Starship being sort of the upper stage, flying before the lower stage, and this super chat points out that the Saturn V's upper stage flew on the Saturn 1 first, so that kind of counts. Same thing goes with the Centaur upper stage, flew before it flew on Atlas V, but still. There's another example. Thank you for the super chat. Carlos, if all goes well with SN8, what's next for the Starship program? Are they going to keep doing these 10-kilometer plus hops to perfect the reentry program? I think SN9 will probably do the same flight profile that SN8 will, regardless how well SN8 does. And eventually later prototypes will start flying higher, and eventually going to space, and then eventually going to orbit. It'll still be an incremental approach, I think. Good question. Trey, will SN8 transition to belly flap on the way up? I believe that Starship will likely try to maintain a nose up attitude all the way to apogee, and then go to belly flap on the way down. Otherwise, you're adding a lot of drag on the way up, which means you would have to burn your Raptors longer to get up there in the first place, which I guess they could do. I'm not sure why they would do it that way. I think they'll kind of translate into the belly flop attitude once they hit their 12.5 kilometer apogee. But that's just my guess. We'll have to wait and see. Don with a question: can you zoom the stakeout RoboCam for venting? This was about 20 minutes old, so I'm not sure if that's still relevant. Sorry, I'm trying to get to these super chats as quickly as I can, guys, but there's a lot of them. Thank you. Kenny with the new membership, welcome. Appreciate it. Mr. Fusion, will there be any mass dummies on this flight to represent a payload or the yet to be installed vacuum Raptors? I do not know if they've got any mass simulators on board or anything like that to sort of mimic a different mass than it currently has. I think they're mostly testing the aerodynamics and things like that. So if the center of mass, I think, is where they want it to be, I think that's all that matters. I don't think they need the exact amount of mass, if that makes sense. They're mostly testing control and things like that. So if the center mass is where it needs to be, which they've been using the header tank and things like that, I think that'll accomplish their test objectives for this flight. We haven't seen any sort of mass simulator-like installations going on. Tim with the new membership, thank you so much. Adrian with a super chat for the DOS Robot Army Fund. I know DOS appreciates it, and so do we. Stuart, bonus bucks for launch day snacks for Mary and Jack. Thank you so much. I know they appreciate it. Raphael, one of those. Thank you so much for the super chat. Sorry if I said your name wrong. Watching from Poland. Can't wait for tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in. Dougal, a regular in the NSF streams. Keep them cameras rolling. Thank you so much. Danielle with roof cam money. More camera money, DOS. It's coming in now.
Nice. Are we keeping track of this? I don't know if we're keeping track of this.
Richard with the super chat. More coffee for Jack and battery charging from a rent-a-plug. Great live feed, folks. Thank you, Richard. Thank you so much. AB Mobile, thanks for the ever-improving coverage. Thank you for the ever-improving super chats. Appreciate it. And John, Buck Rogers would have been impressed. Thanks for the coverage. John, thank you so much for your super chat. And with that, I have finally caught up with the super chat queue.
Well done.
Whew. You guys make that hard, but I appreciate it. Not complaining at all. Now I can get through this question queue, which is 68 minutes old. Oh, just getting another super chat came through. The super chat.
Wait, Thomas, I have a really long diatribe about how thankful I am for 30 minutes.
Nice.
Jack is really thankful. All right, moving on.
Jack is really thankful.
Jack is about to be even more thankful about what just happened.
Wait, what just happened?
We got $100 super
Oh,
chat. What just happened?
Hit
Alright.
refresh.
Yeah, all right, really quick. $2 super chat, really quick. Why is only the bottom part frosty? That's the liquid oxygen tank, which is getting frosty, and that's why that part of the Starship gets frosty. And now moving on to something that might break Jack. A $100 super chat from Sprive NG. Thank you all for what you do. My 3-year-old son and I watch your coverage. Also brings the interest of space and NASA back to relevance. A little funds for your expenses. I wish I could give more because y'all deserve it. And keep it going. Keep up the great work. Sprive, thank you so much. We're glad you and your son enjoy our coverage. Thank you so much for that very generous support. It allows us to do what we do, and we're glad that you enjoy it so much that you continue to support it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's seriously awesome. And I'll be quick. I'll promise I'll be quick. But
You're
seriously, that's a huge amount. That's a huge amount when I want to acknowledge that. And I also think it's there's a seagull freaking out behind me. Sorry. I also just I think it's super cool that he's watching with his 3-year-old. And I think of all the weird like TV commercials and whatnot that are embedded in my consciousness from when I was that age. And it's sort of surreal to think that some of our mannerisms or memes or whatever might be embedded in this kid's brain from a young age, which is absolutely wild to think about and super cool. What a cool activity to engage in with your kid. I endorse it, but I'm also biased.
You have a seagull yelling at you too. It
Well,
sounds
That
like.
seagull really wants to be on stream right now, Jack.
Well, I just wanted to add to that, Jack, and to add to what this person has said and the interest with his son. You know, one of the things that got me interested in spaceflight was my dad's interest in it and him taking me to launches and, you know, always making sure that, hey, if it was something really important, we could see it no matter when it was happening. And that was really fundamental to who I ultimately became. And it's stuff that I now look back on and I really, really cherish with my dad. So I'm glad to also see it happening elsewhere.
Yeah, well said,
Absolutely.
Chris. Very well said.
We really do appreciate all of your support, and we appreciate any of you. Even if you can't send to the super chat, if you just tune into these streams, we appreciate that because we like hanging out with you all, answering questions, and just nerding out about space stuff. That's what we love to do. So we really do appreciate it. All right, and the super chat queue is growing again, so I'm going to do these really quick. Little super chat to fix Robo Jack. Yeah, we'll make sure Jack's okay. We appreciate it. And Dean with a super chat as well. Thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. Let's see if I can speed run some question queue really quick because some of these are literally an hour old, and I hope you guys are still watching so I can still answer your questions when they're relevant. What is the loss by reducing the altitude by 2.5 kilometers? So originally we were expecting 15-kilometer flight. Now it's 12.5 kilometers. I don't think. I mean, there'll be a slightly lower speed that they reach on the way up and on the way down, but other than that, it's probably not a huge deal. If they weren't able to accomplish the test objectives by going to 12.5 kilometers, they wouldn't do the flight. So they're clearly not sacrificing anything too significant. Maybe some aspirational goals, which will now have to be accomplished on a future flight. But I think for the most part, it'll be pretty much the same test objectives for this flight, even though the height has changed. Corona, here's a question maybe for Das and the production team. Will the cameras be able to capture a possible cratering?
A possible cratering.
You
So
know,
that's
if SN8
that's the
comes
plan.
down and doesn't, well, it lands, but you know.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely the plan. All the cameras that we have deployed are not fixed; they're actually movable, whether they're crewed or robotic. And we are going to have all of the cameras attempting to follow Starship as it goes and wherever it ends up. So we've got, especially on the cover camera, right? The camera that we have back at South Padre, mounted way up high. This one right here. Which robot is that? Here we go. This one right here. Okay, got to make sure I click on the same one. This one we're gonna leave a little bit wide, and even if we lose the track, you know, we get a little bit greedy, the zoom, we lose it or something like that. We're planning on keeping this one a little bit wide. So no matter what, if Starship comes down over here, I've got a bunch of presets like splash mid, splash wide, crash mid, crash wide. And then there's one for landing too, in case that happens. But I literally have buttons I can dive for, and I can tell this robot where to look based on what we think's happening with Starship. So we'll have some cover to make sure that we capture it. But our other robots are going to be getting greedy with the zoom. The operator's going to be getting greedy with the zoom and see what we can capture up close and personal with Starship coming back down. We'll see.
Another question from Corona Blitz: will there be any other flying starships after SN8 with the 304 stainless steel? Isn't 304 the new stainless steel?
L, I think, right?
Oh, 304L. I guess that's the difference. I believe SN8 was the last one with any pieces not with the newest steel alloys, so I don't think so. I could be mistaken, so I apologize if I am, but I'm pretty sure SN9 and forward all have the newest 304L steel until they get. I know that's at some point they're going to get to some proprietary steel alloy, I think, or something. But I think the regular 304 steel alloy ends with SN8. I think. Really quick, Michael with a super chat. Thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. And Grant taking advantage of his custom emojis in the super chat. Thank you so much. Well, that just shows up as a bunch of text in the thing. I think it showed up in chat correctly, but we appreciate your super chat. And there's another South Padre Island boat for your viewing pleasure.
Nice.
FHM Counseling with this question. As far as I know, this is the first practical test of software controlling a surfing rocket. So is this a computer disguised as a rocket, much like a Tesla is a computer disguised as a car? I would say that's a fair comparison, probably. Obviously, we talked about SpaceX's software team earlier. There's going to be a lot of software going into controlling a vehicle like this, which hasn't really been done before. So I could say you could call Starship although it's also got some plane characteristics with all the big control surfaces and things like that. Although none of them really are there to generate lift. It's more to control drag. There's a lot of different properties. Starship is a very unique vehicle. So you could probably call it a lot of different things. But appreciate your question, and yeah, I think that's a fair comparison. Here is a good one. William with a question: will the Super Heavy booster have a vent for each engine like SN8 has tri-vents for 3 engines? Will Super Heavy have like 30 different vents? Anyone want to take a stab at that question?
I don't know.
No.
I don't think that Falcon 9 has 30 different vents, right? Or 9
Oh,
different vents,
yeah.
right?
That's true. Do they?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't think so.
But I mean, it seems like you could. Oh wow! Check this one out.
Das ist fantastico. Oh, nice,
Sorry.
nice boat,
Look at that
nice.
old fishing boat. That's a shrimping boat or a fishing boat or something, man. That thing, it's been around a while. Okay, sorry.
But
Anyways, squirrel.
Have we
Hey-
confirmed that the 3 vents on SN8 are for each of the Raptors, or is that speculation?
It's I think it's mostly
speculation. Yeah.
Okay, so it might not necessarily be a one-to-one comparison as far as what the number of vents means. I think 30-something vents would be a little extreme. It seems like they might
Yeah.
want to condense that. No pun intended.
Yeah, I mean, oh god, what a pun. At a certain point, they're going to want to. I mean, it would look like a Swiss cheese rocket, right? If there was
Right.
30 individual vents. So surely there would be some sort of manifold, and they would all be piped to one place. But right now, it does certainly seem like 3 vents, 3 Raptors.
Yeah.
Sebastian with the Peruvian Solaces, I think is what this currency is. Thank you for the super chat. I hope I got that right. Let's see here. Andre with the super chat for the NSF boat. We're getting an NSF boat.
We are. I mean, all right.
I know there's a fund for the NSF boat now, so
Yeah, something tells me that's just been added to NSF Live Bingo too.
yeah.
A boat. Nice. And I've got gimbals. We could do gimbals. Like that's a thing. So
That's
hashtag
true.
NSF boat.
Das, you wouldn't know anything about recording from boats, would you?
I mean, we can not only record, we can stream from boats. It's
That's true.
possible. We gotta make sure you stay out of any exclusion zones. We were actually
That's true.
staying about
That
a
is
mile
the
away
very
from the
important
edge.
piece.
Yeah. But that's definitely possible.
And Harry Young says triple bingo, which means that we win. We won bingo, guys. Thank you for the super chat. Oh yeah, I just checked the Discord. We've
Told ya.
bingo has been won like 3 times already, so nice.
Nice.
And then Andre with another super chat saying we need NSF boat. I think the super chat says we need NSF boat. We might have to work on that. I don't know. We'll figure something out. Maybe we get a little RC boat or something.
Nice. An alligator. I want an alligator
And-
with a camera in its mouth, and it opens its mouth as
nice.
a camera.
Nice.
I promise Kennedy Space Center I will never actually do that, like leave an alligator in the holding tank right next to the launch pad. Like, why is that a camera? Why is that alligator yawning so much? It's a camera inside looking out its mouth.
And Andre again with his Andre, thank you so much. We know you're a regular here and you're always dropping tons of super chats. We really appreciate it. And he says, Dots has spoken. It's possible. Robot boat. So
Robot boat. There you go.
more boats in the robot account or whatever.
Rowboat, come on. How are you not going to say rowboat? That's
Oh,
low-hanging
no.
fruit.
Oh,
No,
jeez.
don't do that. Rowboat, really? I give
It was
up.
low-hanging fruit.
Can we turn his mic off? Hang on. It was low-hanging fruit.
He has a point, though, to be fair. Let's see here. Back into the question queue. Here's a good one. Will there be any 10-minute siren for the flight? I believe the answer is no, because the village will be evacuated. The point of the 10-minute siren is to warn people in the village that they're about 10 minutes away from an event, which could cause an overpressure event, just so they're not standing near windows and things like that. But if they're not in the village, I don't think that siren is actually needed. So I don't think we'll actually expect a siren for that. Of course, because of the official SpaceX stream, we'll have an idea where exactly they are in the countdown, so we'll know when T0 is coming. So that's kind of how we'll find out instead of the 10-minute siren. Good question. Andre with a super chat says that DOS boat is better, so he doesn't like rowboat.
He doesn't like rowboat, the DOS boat.
And
I mean,
since
hey,
he's funding
whatever.
it, I feel like we have to acknowledge that opinion. Mr. Morgan Kell, another's regular in the super chats, again to break RoboJack and more cat memes. Thank you for the super chat. We appreciate it. This question queue is so long. Trying to find all the good ones here. Also trying to find questions that I can like ask other people. Let's see. All right, I'll let you guys do some speculation. Do you think that when SpaceX masters these sort of 12-kilometer jumps, that it will switch to 100 kilometers, aka so suborbital hops or flights, whatever we're calling those now, or directly to orbital flights? What do you think is the next step once they nail a 12.5-kilometer flight?
SpaceX calls them flights. I'm gonna call them flights. Just saying.
No disagreements here.
They're definitely a flight. I think that we can say.
Yes.
Is it a flight and a hop? That's the question. But anyway, to the question, I think they will repeat the 12.5-kilometer test like they did with the 150-meter test with SN5 and 6. Just because they do it once does not mean it's repeatably performable consistently. So I think they want to prove some reliability before they go higher. But I don't think it'll be long before they start pushing the limits more. And I think it won't be like from 12 kilometers to 15 kilometers to 20 kilometers. I expect them to go a lot higher fairly quickly to get a much higher descent rate to really test those flaps and whatnot. So I think Elon said they wanted to go high Mach pretty soon. So I'm not sure exactly what the altitude will be of the future test schedule, but it's gonna ramp up pretty quickly, I would assume. Super chat from BPS Space, Joe Barnard. Thank you so much.
Nice.
Oh, hey, what's up,
Joe?
$10 towards the rowboat fund, and he says we legally must do this. I'm sorry, I don't make the rules.
We legally must make the rowboat. The rowboat.
Do paper boats count?
I'm down. No, no. I mean, I'm completely down.
Yeah, I want a boat too. It just has to be out. I mean, at the Cape, it's pretty easy to stay outside the hazard zone because you just go out of Port Canaveral and you go south. The hazard zones. I mean, this is not like a blanket statement. Again, NASASpaceflight not responsible. You must, if you're a boater, you must check the hazard zones yourself and make sure. But typically, in most situations, the marine hazard zones end around Port Canaveral. So as long as you stay south of Port Canaveral, again, generally you're fine. But obviously, check on your own. Don't take my word for it. I am not responsible if something changes. I think that's what you did, DOS, for the in-flight abort, right? You went south.
Yeah, that's correct. We actually hired a professional captain that does charters in the area because he knows where everything was. With Starfleet Tours, actually, maybe one day that'll get started back up again. And the captain kept us. We were about a mile away from the edge of the exclusion zone for IFA. So while everybody else got a fantastic view of a cloud from the shore, sorry everyone else.
Subjects, DOS, come on.
I actually got some really good gimbal stabilized video out from the boat. It was rough out there, and like I said, I lost a solo. I lost one of the broadcast encoders when he got nailed by a wave, but it was fantastic. It was a fantastic view out there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, rowboat, we'll work on it. I think that's something you could do. You're talking to the guy who put a drone racing camera on his wife's Beagle and lived to tell about it. So, I mean, a rowboat, I think we could make that work.
Well, and then now Andre is back on the rowboat chain.
I saw that video. It was great.
There is a video of that. There is this video of Birgitta rest her little doggy soul running around with a drone racing camera on her back. So she was a trooper about it.
And Andre's back on the naming a rowboat train because Joe Bernard has spoken. So there you go. We're calling it rowboat officially.
Oh my gosh.
Let's see. This is a good question. I don't think I know the answer. Michael, maybe you'll know. You're a software guy. Ertzi, do you know which programming language they're using for SN8 software? I guess we could kind of extend this to SpaceX software total. Do we know what kind of programming languages SpaceX uses for their vehicles?
It depends on which specific part you're talking about, I think, but I believe, I mean, I know they use C++ for some stuff, but I think they use C as well. It would depend on what exact specific part you're talking about, I think. I know they use a variety of different languages, so um, I think the answer is probably multiple. Yeah. And
That one's
chat
outside
is
my
saying,
purview. Yeah.
chat seems to be agreeing with me on the C and C++ part of it. So there you go.
Well, there you go.
Another big super chat. Wow. 100 euros from Hello Henny. I don't know if I'm saying your name right. I apologize, but we really appreciate that. That is super generous of you. They say hi from Germany. Watch a lot of your streams lately. Never done a super chat yet. Well, that's a very generous super chat for your first one, so we appreciate it. Now it just felt right to do so. Awesome coverage of so many of you on the stream. We really appreciate that again, and I'm glad you are enjoying all of our different talking heads, I guess, if we can call it that.
Talking
And
mouths.
talking mouths. And hopefully we'll have a nice, successful stream for you all to watch tomorrow as we finally see SN8 hopefully fly for the first time.
I wasn't gonna jinx it, Michael. I was gonna say I wish it would launch right now because everything's working. Like tomorrow, when the super fans all descend on South Padre Island and start clogging up the internet, oh geez, I'm worried. But right now everything's working. Just go ahead, SpaceX. If you're ready, hit the button. Just send it. We're standing by.
Elon, do your thing, cracked whip.
Yeah, crack the
Yeah.
whip.
Really quick, Das, we've got some people who are watching one of our other streams, because of course we are doing like 3 simultaneous streams right
Is there
now.
a
Did I
static
break it?
fire?
At FleetCam, we saw a T-minus 20-minute event just 3 minutes
Ooh.
ago, so they're probably targeting the top of
Oh,
the hour for a Falcon 9 static fire.
stand by. Fleet cam.
Oh, look at
Here
that.
you
There
can
it
see
is.
venting on pad 40 right now.
So we know SpaceX is getting ready for the SXM-7 mission, which is no earlier than the 10th, which is Thursday. I remember my days of the week. So it looks like they're getting ready for a static fire prior to that mission. We saw Falcon 9 go vertical on the pad earlier. This is our view from Port Canaveral of pad 40, and we saw some venting. So static fire in about 17 minutes or so, probably.
Yeah, good deal. We will remind me, and we can switch over here and see if
Yeah,
we can
I'll
see the
keep an eye
static
on the
fire
clock. There's
live.
not going to be much to see until then, so
Yep.
but
Yeah,
we'll make sure we cut over to see that.
they stacked a bunch of shipping. I think that's actually pallets of wood, like lumber, in our way. Thanks, Port Canaveral. Jeez. But remind me to switch back over, and we
Yeah.
can see if we can see that static
Yeah.
fire.
We
Will
don't
do.
have official confirmation yet, but my understanding from what I've heard is that the Falcon 9 first stage booster for that upcoming XXM7 mission is B1051, which, if true, would be making its 7th flight, which is quite incredible because that would be tying the flight leading record set by B1049 a couple of launches ago. So that would mean a customer is willing to fly on a 7th flight, which is a pretty good sign and confidence for SpaceX's reusability efforts. So again, that's not officially confirmed yet. Hopefully, SpaceX will comment on that after the static fire test. But I'm expecting a potential 7th flight of B1051 in the next couple of days.
That must also go a long way to some of the data reviews they've already done from the one that just flew to
Yeah.
have one for a customer out there too. So that is also really speaking to how these boosters are holding up after these new increments in number of flights.
Yeah, nice. I think it's either B1051. I'm checking my notes, or B1060 would be the other option, but there's also that TurkSat launch coming up. I don't know. That one might slip because the aircraft are used to transport the satellites are Antonovs, and they've been grounded due to a technical issue, a safety concern. So I'm not sure when they're going to be able to transport the TurkSat satellite, but I think that one is probably using B1060. So I think that's why this launch is using B1051. and I don't think there are really any other options. SpaceX
Well,
launching.
uh,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, well, sort of on that point, this is very interesting because whether it's SpaceX with SXM-7 or the Delta IV Heavy with NROL-44, whichever one wins the range priority battle on the 10th, that will be the first rocket to launch from the newly named Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, with the name change officially taking effect on Wednesday, the 9th. So
Did I miss that? Did they announce that?
it was literally just announced. Yeah, Michael Sheets was tweeting about it. I'll link it up in chat.
Because
Yeah,
they
Interesting.
originally said it was going to happen within like a month, and then COVID happened, and I think everything got thrown out
exactly.
of whack. But I guess it's actually happening now. But anyways, I did
Yep.
check my notes. Um, it has to be B1051 or B1060 unless booster that's reserved for a NASA or Space Force. There's two boosters that are reserved for those. So unless there's like a surprise or one of those flew another mission before they flew the NASA or space the NASA or Space Force missions that they're reserved for, there are no other boosters available. So I guess they could also convert a Falcon Heavy side core, but I think that's unlikely. So yes, I think it's very likely that that is the seventh flight static fire we're about to see on Fleet Cam.
So that's very exciting and a big milestone for SpaceX. Of course, we'll have some more official confirmation of that. Usually, when SpaceX tweets that a Starfire is complete, they say this booster previously supported these missions. So we'll kind of confirm it's the booster we think it is. But again, we're about 13 minutes from that, assuming that the T-minus 20-minute event occurred when we thought it did, and that they're usually targeting the top of the hour for a static fire test, things like that. So we will keep an eye on that. But in the meantime, our super chat queue has grown again, so I'm going to speed run this again. Thomas, I can only imagine your just rehearsal tonight. We are been doing a lot of practicing with this gear, and I know Das has been playing with things in the background to make sure we're ready to cover the flight. Das, how did our camera dress rehearsals go?
Can y'all tell that I'm not talking much? Does that surprise anyone? I'm very busy, looking at all sorts of different things and just tracking down as much stuff as I can. You get to the point where you've done everything you can, and I like what's going on here. I mean, without changing a bunch of stuff, I think we're looking pretty good from our technology perspective. Of course, our big thing is going to be the internet access across South Padre Island in general, because hopefully the internet backbones that go down to South Padre Island can stay up. I know a lot of people are trying to connect down there to go down and see this event, and we're reliant on that just like anybody else. So hopefully that hangs in there. That's the one thing that I can't control. I can't control how many people are talking to that cell phone tower or on that internet backbone out there. So we'll see what happens. But there you go. The robot children are very well behaved today.
All right, more super chats and Andre back with another one. Thank you so much. How much can Robo cost? $10? Well,
Well,
you're throwing a lot more than that in super chats in, Andre, for what it's worth.
did you say boat or rowboat? Because that's like two different things. I mean,
I think he's talking about rowboat, but it depends. I don't know. Does that mean a rowboat? Does that mean a robotic boat? I don't know. I'm just confused at this point.
no, it's actually Jack out there in like a kayak, like holding onto a camera with his teeth. We'll put a GoPro on a helmet on Jack's head and have him row out somewhere.
Yeah, you can wrap me in tinfoil and put like AC ducts on my arms. I don't care. I'll look the part too. Just let me do it.
Oh no.
Johnny with a super chat. Is it possible to get a receiver and tap into the SpaceX drone camera signal? I feel like even if that was technically possible, that would not be allowed. I would not recommend doing that.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, most of those things are ended encrypted. You're not gonna. It's not like old
yeah.
school over the air. Like I'm listening to the beeps of Sputnik or something like that.
Yeah,
We've come a
we're
little
not gonna
ways
pull a
past
max
that.
headroom with SpaceX's drone stream.
Yeah.
Let's see here. WK Wells with a question. Discuss your thoughts on why header flaps instead of rotating wings. Also, the last boat looked like Forrest Gump Jenny. It did look a little bit. But why the flaps instead of the? Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, so the folding kind of in towards the fuselage instead of pivoting is a matter of you're trying to control how much drag the front and back of the vehicle is experiencing. If you want to pitch up, you want more drag at the nose than at the aft the engine section, so that the vehicle starts to sort of tilt that way. So it's not you're not using the fins on the way up for control authority, which is where you would want like pivoting or rotating wings. It's mostly for control on the way down, which is a drag control thing. So that's sort of the difference there, and that's why they probably went with the design that they did. And here we go. Andre says super chat chain for the rowboat. Andre, thank you so much for all of these super chats. I think it's safe to say that we're kind of being forced into doing a rowboat thing. We're gonna have to find a way to work it in, but I think it's gonna happen.
Forced into doing it. What do you
All
mean?
right,
Forced?
I guess the rest of the team has been convinced of something that Das apparently already wanted to do.
I mean, just look at this. Look at this beautiful sunset at Port Canaveral right now, courtesy of the rowboat, the robotic camera. It's actually like row restaurant or something like that. But that is off the fleet cam. I was just checking the sunset real quick. I'm about to put it back to pad 40.
Robotstront.
Robotstront. Thank you, Jack. The Robotstront. It looks
You
like
know,
Disney has a
I gotta
cruise ship
help
in there
out.
too.
It's really important that I come up with these crap words.
It technically is a rowboat because there are boats in the frame, so I think it counts.
I'll take it. Whatever. I'll allow it. Anyways, I better put this on back on pad 40 before it does a static fire. So
This is true. We'll keep an eye on that. A super chat that says Das Boot. Thank
Das
you,
Boot.
John, for the super chat. Let's see. Daniel, what are the chances of SN8 being saved if it could be? Could it survive an emergency landing? Would it be salvageable? I think if the landing is off nominal, it will also be explosive. That's how off nominal rocket landings tend to go, unless it is sort of just a slightly hard touchdown like some Falcon 9s have had. If it's anything more than that, I think it'll be pretty hard. There will be salvage involved. There will be pieces of scrap metal everywhere, but other than that, I'm not sure they'll be able to salvage any of the vehicle, except for maybe some small components here and there. I think if they want any parts from SN8, they're going to have to land it successfully. Lord Mordecai with the new membership, thank you so much. We appreciate it. And Jeff, thanks for all you do. We are watching history together. Completely agree. Thank you so much for the super chat. Build into trains. I wish SpaceX would name the boosters like space shuttles with wording on the sides instead of having to remember numbers. Well, they've kind of done that with the Crew Dragon vehicles. I think there's an argument to saving the names for the crew vehicles. I think I understand where they're coming from. They do have a large fleet of boosters, and I don't know if they all need names. I think the Starship vehicles that carry people will get names. I know Elon wants the first one to go to Mars to be named Heart of Gold. So I like the naming of the capsules and the crew vehicles and leaving the serial numbers to the boosters. I don't really mind it that much, but I understand where you're coming from. Thank you for the super chat. Gustavo with the 20,000 Colombian pesos, which is,
wow.
like $7 US or something like that. But thank you so much for the super chat. We really do appreciate it. Carlos with the super chat. If Starship is the second stage in a super heavy rocket, when will we see the complete first stage? When will they test the first stage independently, or will they test the first stage independently or stacked with the second stage? You guys are awesome. Well, thank you so much. Yes, we did see them start stacking the first super heavy booster number 1, as it was labeled. So we know they are working on assembling that first super heavy booster, although it'll take a little bit. It's pretty big. And we do believe that they're going to do some sort of hop style tests with that first super heavy booster, just like they did with the Starship vehicles. I think Elon said like a 2-engine hop test with the booster for some independent testing before they go into stacked testing. So hopefully that answers your question, but thank you for the super chat. Andre says that he has Jack's address, so he's going to send him a kayak to him right now.
That's terrifying because I somewhat believe that he actually would.
Thank you for the super chat, Andre, and maybe thank you in advance for the kayak. Rohan, if you had access to a Starlink dish, would that solve your mobile bandwidth internet issues when the network gets congested? If so, maybe tweet Elon. Das, how would Starlink help us out? Uh-oh, did we lose Das? Oh, Das just messaged us a second ago that he'd be AFK for a few minutes, so I asked Das a question right when he left. That's my fault. Well, we'll get that question back to Das in a second. Let's see. Yeah, so Super Chat with the SpaceX YouTube channel having the SN8 flight on December 8th, 4 a.m. Pacific. So that time is wrong. Yes, it's tomorrow. The time is like 2 hours before the opening of the window. And some people have been asking about this. So I think we just have the time. They have the time on their stream incorrect. Um, they will probably correct that as we get closer. The road closures don't and the airspace restrictions don't start till about 2 hours after that, and that's when they can start fueling and things like that. So keep an eye on the live stream schedules, and of course the schedule's fluid anyway, to figure out when exactly the flight will actually happen.
And to be fair with that SpaceX broadcast, just to put it into perspective, SpaceX is not planning this big elaborate webcast for this.
Mhm.
That webcast will go live a few minutes before liftoff. So we should be paying attention to their social media channels for updates on timing and things like that, as well as we go through the day, along with the obvious visual cues we will all get. But just wanted to put that out there that there's no big production planned for this. It's very much like they did for Hopper.
Yeah.
Excellent. And as we approach the top of the hour here, I am going to switch us over to side by side so that we can keep an eye on Fleet Cam out of Port Canaveral, zoomed in at pad 40, SLC 40 over there. I don't know exactly when that's going to go. I assume it's right at the top of the
It
hour.
should be at the top of the hour, yeah. I
Yeah,
know
so we have
last time we caught one during NSF Live. I think at 4 o'clock because it shows 3 to 5 or 4:30. I think it's at the top of the hour is usually when they schedule these Falcon 9 static fires for simplicity.
Yep.
So a couple
Gotcha.
minutes away from that. While we were doing that, we had some questions for you, Das. If you had access to a
Oh,
Starlink dish, would that solve your mobile bandwidth internet issues when the network gets congested?
I don't know. Does Starlink work? And
That's
does
a
it
fair
get
point.
congested? I mean, that's a real question. Like, I haven't used a Starlink terminal. I know for the lower latitudes, they're still deploying, right? They're not quite there with full coverage. So, are there still gaps in the coverage? How will that work? And then, how many people are on Starlink? Is Starlink going to suffer the same sort of infrastructure problems that the LTE networks have, the cellular networks have? Once it's wow, it's amazing, everybody's on it. Oh my gosh, everybody has like a Starlink dish, and they put a Starlink dish on their car, and their dog has a Starlink dish, and then there's one at their other house as well. And we got a big vent happening shortly from or Port Canaveral there.
Actually, yeah, Falcon 9 is doing
Yeah.
it's a 2-minute vent, so we probably want to go.
Yeah,
Oh,
we can
that's
probably
it.
go full screen of that if you
Yeah,
want.
yeah.
All right. So yeah, to finish up that one, there is Fleet Cam full screen right there. Um, it's the rough part of the day. The sunset, it's not exactly the best time for that specific camera that's installed over there, but it'll do. Again, just spoils us for Mary being on the side of the road with that nice camera she's got. But I wonder. I am completely game to try Starlink. I think at the beginning Starlink may be fantastic, and then a bunch of people may get on it, and it may be a little bit less than advertised. But I'm willing to find out. I want to see. I'm always hedging, like, no silver
Mhm.
bullet answers, like, "Oh, yeah,
Right.
once we get Starlink, everything will be perfect forever." I'm not a downer, I am completely game to try it, I think it's gonna help. I'd love to use it as one of our connections and, like, sort of spread it out, some 4G, some Starlink, landline where you can, fixed wireless, like, whatever, you take every tool you have in your chest and, put it together to get your coverage, right? But I'm game, I mean, hey, somebody ship me a terminal, you know?
Absolutely. And Devin had a similar super chat. Would a Starlink connection work for streaming? I think we just answered your question. It'll probably help. But
Okay.
we would love to try it out.
Coming up on
Yep.
the top of the hour, so let's watch.
Yep, let's take a look for a Falcon 9 static fire from Cape Canaveral via NSF Fleet Cam. Let's take a look.
I'm not gonna touch it because it's too close, it's like, I
Oh,
wanna focus it.
oh, wait, never mind.
There's some like wrappers on the
Oh,
right.
there
There
we
we
go.
go. There
Ignition.
it is. You can see
Yeah,
the
I
very
think there is
bottom.
ignition.
There we
And
go.
there you can see the plume coming out. Those containers are kind of in the way, but you can see
Oh!
it happening.
Lumber!
You can see you can see some light coming from under its
Yeah.
lightning rods or lightning masts.
We need to mount this one about 15 feet higher, and well, no, we need to
I think
split the
we just
difference.
I think we just need more cameras in the Cape area.
I mean, I
I
agree.
also concur.
I'm down.
Uh, so
That's a static fire.
we just caught a static fire of Falcon 9 at pad 40 at Cape Canaveral. That's in advance of the SXM-7 satellite launch coming up later this week on Thursday, or no earlier than Thursday, I should say. But of course, wait for SpaceX to confirm that test was successful. But another milestone for that mission, while we are waiting for what is likely the wrapping up of the Starship testing for today, Looks like they have completed their wet dress rehearsal. We saw some depressed vents earlier, but the tank is still frosty, so still in the process of finishing up testing. So we're going to keep an eye on that, and we're going to keep answering super chats and questions because we can do that. Although Das, we have this other super chat for you here.
Uh-oh.
Boom Baby Chase says, "I'm here from the future to warn you. Your robot camera army becomes sentient and takes over the world. Also, Bodie McRobo faces their leader."
Bodie McRobo face. Rowboat face. Oh no. Well, I mean, if they go sentient and they start to take over the world, can I at least still access the live camera feed so we can use them on the stream? Like, I don't know. I may be okay with that. Like, they're
It may be
building
the end
more of
of the
themselves
world,
and
but
swarming.
Das will still be streaming.
Yeah, the end of the world will be televised via the robots that do it. Like, this is more of Neuralink territory. I think we're getting into here, like the singularity in AI.
Tennessee Ferry with a super chat. Thank you so much. And Stace Bernard with the super chat says that we should call SN8 Shippy McShipface. So we have one proposed name for SN8. We're down to hear other suggestions.
Yes, we're definitely open for other suggestions.
WK Wells with another super chat says, "Everyone sing along, row, row, row your rowboat."
Oh
Well,
no.
there we go. I'm
What have
telling
we
you, it's
gotten
not over
ourselves
the good
into?
part yet. It has to be now. Here's a question. I'm gonna ask you this one, Michael. Have you guys heard of the Next Spaceflight app? Man, that app rocks. Launch data and history, just really cool stuff. Michael, have you heard of Next Spaceflight?
I have, and I promise I'm not like conspiracing these super chats to advertise or something. People just do it. I promise I'm not asking people to do it. But thank you so much for the support, Diggy Fix.
Absolutely. And if you guys are not aware what Next Spaceflight is, Michael has developed an awesome app. It's got your launch schedule information, it's got launch articles, it's got upcoming events like dockings and Starship testing and things like that. If you don't have it, highly recommend. It's free. It's on iOS and Android, and it's awesome. It'll give you notifications when a launch is coming up so you don't miss anything. You can tune into our live streams when that happens, all that good stuff. Totally an awesome app. Highly recommend. And Andre with another super chat says the
Uh-oh.
kayak's on the way. God bless Amazon.
It's good exercise too. It's like,
I'm legitimately nervous that there's actually a kayak headed to my apartment right now, but yes, I'm somewhat. He says he actually shipped his kayak. Oh lord, I don't
you got a
believe
rack.
it.
You got a rack on top of the Land Rover. Like, is that a thing?
No, but it's an inflatable kayak.
What?
I don't. I
I
have
don't
no.
think so, Jack.
What have we done?
I don't know. Sounds cool though.
Haas is just like, hey, if we can strap a camera to it, I'm down.
I mean, I could strap a camera to just about anything. So, all right, my
Yeah, I
daughter
think
ice skates, and I want to strap a camera to her ice skate. Wouldn't that be a cool view of
That would
somebody
be
ice
cool,
skating?
actually.
That'd be an amazing view.
I feel like I saw a commercial during the NHL playoffs where they were sticking cameras to their ice skates and things like that. That's totally
Yeah,
doable.
that would be cool.
Drone racing camera onto ice skates.
That is
Do it.
exactly right. That you think I'm kidding? I'm not kidding.
No,
There's a
I
guy
hope we
on
all believe that you're not kidding.
there's a guy on YouTube who'll put a GoPro like in a car tire or just in insane places. And yeah, Das, I think you're rapidly reaching that point. Let us never ever doubt your ability to put a camera somewhere.
I mean, I gotta specify, like, putting a camera somewhere is one thing. Like, I strap a GoPro to something, whatever. It's in the wheel well. That's fantastic. I want the live feed off. I want to be able to share whatever's happening with y'all live, like 7 seconds shy of live, is what I'm looking for. So, oh, it's too much fun, y'all. I'm gonna say again, thank you so much for supporting us so that we can do this, because we kid about it. It's like, oh, Das wants another camera, and it's like, well, quite often more cameras do show up, and then we do cool things with them. So I appreciate everybody for letting us do this, because this really is a community effort. Y'all help support us, and then we have wacky ideas and beat them over the head with super chats until they work.
Can confirm. Here's another super chat from Philip. Patrick Air Force Base still providing launch details for both SXM7 and Roll 44. Do we think it now might be both? We know it can't be both. They're too close together. The range cannot support those two launches back to back like that. One of them will have to win out as far as range priority is concerned. and we'll keep an eye out for an update on that front. We know NROL 44 is a national security mission and would thus normally get range priority, although it's also worth noting that Delta IV Heavy has aborted a couple times for this launch, and SpaceX did have the range first, so it's possible that they'll give SpaceX priority. Or it's possible one of the missions will delay for a completely unrelated reason to range priority, and thus the range priority argument doesn't actually matter. But we know it won't be both on Thursday, it'll be one or the other. Sorry, did I interrupt someone there?
No, I just said nice. I'm sorry, Thomas.
Oh, okay.
It does look like some of the ice is melting there, the frosting
Yeah.
melting on the side of the.
Of course, we'll know the test is fully complete when the road is reopened and people, or the pad is reopened, I should say, and people return to the pad. But until then, I think we'll keep an eye on Starship. I don't know what our plan is, but I figure that's what it is.
It's beautiful out there right now. I mean,
It is.
as long as everybody out in the field is good to go, I'm happy to keep showing these views because it is really nice.
And the question queue continues to grow, so I got to start getting through these. Some of these are literally 2 hours old. You guys are asking questions so fast. I apologize. I'm trying to get to them as quickly as I can while still actually answering the questions. We really do appreciate it. We hope you're hanging out to talk about all this stuff with us. Let's see here. Try to find some good ones here. Will SpaceX have drone footage, even though it's a no drone zone? So it's a no drone zone for everyone but SpaceX. SpaceX uses a drone to do their inspections and things like that. And we know they've posted some drone video before of like the SN5 and SN6 hops and maybe even Starhopper. So I bet we'll see SpaceX drone video. Would not rule that out at all. You just can't fly your own drones there, if that makes sense. But I think we'll see that. And then, yeah, some people asking about the countdown on the SpaceX stream and the fact that it's off. Yeah, we know SpaceX scheduled their stream for slightly the wrong time. Sometimes it happens. It's not a big deal. That time that the SpaceX stream is counting down to is not when the opening of the window happens tomorrow. It's a couple hours off. So stay tuned for updates from SpaceX, updates from us on social media. And when we go live, you'll know that we have seen visual cues or updates to suggest that we're getting close to actual action. The schedule is very fluid. It could happen at almost any time during the day tomorrow. So stay tuned for more updates on that. Oh boy, we have a shuttle question. I guess we should ask Chris this. Although I think I might know the answer. We were talking about this earlier. Did the shuttle program ever do hops or similar testing? The shuttle did free flight drop test, like approach and landing tests, right, Chris?
Yes, with the Enterprise off of the 747. Yes.
I guess that's close the shuttle got to like hop tests or something like that, right? Was there anything else like that?
So yes, the first part of that is correct. That's the closest the shuttle ever got. One of the things about the shuttle program is that its first flight was literally its first integrated flight. The first time that the orbiter and the tank and the boosters ever flew together was STS-1. There was an original plan for STS-1 with John Young and Bob Crippen to fly a return to launch site abort profile to test and certify that particular abort mode. And I believe it was John Young who was quoted years after the fact of saying, "Let's not tempt fate and just proceed onto orbit."
Chris. John Young said more than "let's not tempt fate." He's known for his hilarious quotes and just really succinct ways of putting things. And I believe
I honestly don't remember.
It's something along the lines of RTLS requires continuous miracles interspersed with acts of God to be successful. Yeah. Something along those lines, and it's absolutely true. A shuttle RTLS would have been. I think the phrase you're thinking of is "let's not play Russian roulette." Is what?
Yes, that's
is what John Young said. So. John Young, ever the eloquent astronaut.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, I mean, what you were just saying there, Jack, about like the fear of an RTLS on the shuttle program. I mean, that's why every time you would get like 4 minutes into a flight and you would hear that they had transoceanic landing capability in Europe or Africa, where you just breathed a huge sigh of relief. During those liftoffs.
So there you go. A couple more super chats came here. Actually, Timothy with the new membership. Thank you so much for joining up there. Lynn with the super chat. Flight versus hop, hop versus flight. Hopefully after tomorrow we won't be calling it a flop. I see your point and I concur. Thank you so much for your super chat there. And Paulus, we were talking about the first sort of Starship missions to Mars. I have a theory for the first supply missions to Mars: Starship, fuel tank, and nose cone with the cargo and habitat separation on Mars for security reasons. Because of having a fuel tank next to the habitat. Not sure. Of course, it depends on how you're going to deploy your surface habitat. If you have some robotic rovers or something like that, or if you're going to wait till crew get there, and the crew will kind of live at a Starship for a few days while they build a more permanent habitat somewhat separated from the vehicle. Of course, the vehicle can just vent its propellant, so you don't have an explosive fuel tank there, assuming that the landing goes nominally. So that's another thing to consider. But yeah, like I mentioned earlier, it'll be very interesting to get some details on what SpaceX's plans for their first Mars landings really is. And Steen Larson with the new membership, thank you so much for the support. Everyone who's doing memberships and super chats and everything, we really do appreciate it. This is awesome.
No, there's a question that just popped up in chat, specifically about what we were just talking about with return to launch site landings. But I had mentioned the transoceanic landing sites in Europe, and Philip had a question about which ones there were. The shuttle program had contingency runways around the world that they could use if they really got into an issue. There's a huge volume containing all of the possible sites they could have used. But the three that were certified for use in the program that were in Europe were in Istria, France, Zaragoza, Spain, and Morone, Spain. And then there were a few along the western coast of Africa too, for the early program equatorial flights.
I think we've hit our daily dose of shuttle facts on the NSF live stream. If someone's taking that off the bingo card, by the way, definitely hit that quota today.
Press
Recommended
2
daily
for more shuttle
allowance.
facts.
Yeah, right. Thank you for subscribing to Shuttle Facts.
Awesome.
You laugh, I could provide them.
No, we know. The guys, like, literally, you can talk to Chris and be like, I saw this one shuttle launch a couple years ago, but I don't remember what it was. And they're like, I think it was a night launch during maybe 2005 or something. And Chris will name every possible mission it might have been because the guy's a walking shuttle encyclopedia.
I still have Chris. You remember that time we walked around Atlantis and we live streamed on my Twitch channel, and it was just like hang out and talk about the shuttle. I still have that
I do.
raw video somewhere. I mean,
I do. That was a fun day. Yeah.
One day we need to toss that to the editors and see if they can clean it up, and that'd be a cool extra thing to release one day, maybe.
That really would actually.
Speaking on behalf of the editors, yes.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, literally, Chris G just met up with me at the visitor center, Kennedy Space Center visitors complex, and we got permission from their team, their PR team, to just walk around Atlantis. And it was a little live stream on my Twitch channel, and it was just Chris talking about shuttle stuff. And we recorded. I have all the source footage from that, the original footage. So that'd be cool. I don't know how I remember that.
You know,
that was like one of your virtual field trips, right? Because like we had like the front page of Twitch, and they had delayed a launch or something like that. So we did the Atlantis trip instead, I think.
That's exactly right. Flexing over because they delayed a launch and they gave us permission to walk around Atlantis with our cameras. Yeah.
You know, it would be really cool, in addition to the video you're talking about, is if we deployed the NSF HiveMind and team that is all across the world and US to check out each of the orbiters in their current locations and just do like a one massive video of like the orbiters, where are they now, kind of thing, and just check up on each of them in their respective viewing locations. And I don't know, I don't think I've seen anything like that. That would be really cool.
It really would be cool. I mean, especially once they get Endeavor's facility built in Los Angeles, because I don't know if they all talked, if the Smithsonian and Kennedy and California Science Center all talked to one another. But the fact that the three flight-worthy orbiters are displayed in the three possible flight configurations of launch, orbit, and landing is a really freaking cool thing that managed to come out of this for their museum locations.
And as sad as I am going to be when they finally get Endeavor vertical at the planned arrangement for Los Angeles, because it's so cool to be able to go and kind of walk under it and be so close to it. It's insane how close you can get to it at the California Science Center. even though I'm just going to be sad for the current era to be over, it is truly going to look outstanding when it is vertical on the full
Yeah.
stack.
So anyway, back to Starship.
What were we talking about? Shuttles?
Lock's tank looks nearly completely defrosted now, only
Yeah.
a little bit of frost remaining, so tank's probably empty at this point.
Yeah, I mean, there's really no tank farm activity. The ice frost is melting away. It almost looks like the sunward side that's getting a little bit more sun is
Right, yeah.
melting a little bit more rapidly there, if I had to guess. But it does look like they may be done with that operation. I wonder if they're done with everything.
Do have a super chat here for the Paint Jacks Rover Fund. Thank you so much for Wait W4ID.
Oh, is that from the
Yeah,
360 video?
I did this thing when I got my Land Rover where I was like, I like the way that it looks dirty, and everyone around me was like, you're gonna ruin your clear coat, and I was like, I like the way that it looks dirty, and yeah, well here we are, and also Land Rovers are just notorious for getting kind of cruddy paint on the roof there. I guess it's a common problem. So actually, one of my next home improvement kind of things to do is sand the Land Rover and then just hit it with a coat of primer and just like primer black, sand all the old clear coat off. So thank you for the super chat. It will look less bad in the future, I promise.
You should do it with like a bed liner or something. Coat the Land Rover with bed liner.
I might plasti dip it. I thought it would be cool to do a plasti dip because a lot of people
Yeah.
do that.
That's a thing. That's definitely a thing in Texas for sure. Like all the ranch trucks and brush trucks and stuff like that, they get scratched up when you're driving through the mesquite. So they literally just put like the plastic, the bedliner stuff on it. So yeah,
Yeah,
cool.
function over form.
Diving back into the question queue here, how far can Starship go with orbital refueling, Jupiter or Saturn? And it disappeared from my queue again, but to answer the question, I believe SpaceX has said, or at least Elon has said, that with orbital refueling, Starship can pretty much go anywhere in the solar system. Obviously, depending on how much payload you need to bring there, but with at least a minimum payload, it can get to the outer solar system. So depending on what applications that could be used for, Starship can go pretty much anywhere in the solar system, assuming orbital refueling
Yeah,
works. That's the key to it.
and isn't orbital refueling how? Because I mean, SpaceX. I mean, on the website for Starship, fairness, have not looked at the recent update they published today, so I don't know if this is still on there. But I mean, the website definitely up until this morning said, 100 ton or 100,000 pounds, or what was the payload to anywhere in the solar system?
I am pulling up the webpage to find out. Hold on.
Yeah, it was 100. Ah, man, I really forget off the top of my head, but I mean, it was impressive, and the only way that was possible was with orbital refueling, basically.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know the kind of stated payload capacity is 100 tons plus. I'm trying to figure out if they have a number more specifically for like interplanetary transport.
Well, I think what it used to say was 100 tons to any point in the solar system.
Right, yeah. I think that's what the because you get to low Earth orbit and then you refuel and then you go wherever. So it's
Right, you
basically
literally restart your delta V potential all over again from orbit, which is
if you can
incredible.
get it low Earth
And-
orbit, you can just sit there and wait for more fuel. So as long as you can get to low Earth orbit, you can then get that mess anywhere else once you refuel. So yeah,
The website changed today. The
yes.
the little blurb they added to it. I'm looking for it now. It's absolutely it. I mean, talk about getting excited for the launch. Let me see if I can find it. I'm failing miserably.
It does say 100 metric tons to Earth orbit. So it
Yes.
does specify now. But again, I guess you could
But yeah,
refuel, so.
but then if you refuel at that point, then you can go anywhere from there. So
Hmm.
I'm gonna keep. Go ahead.
Somebody on our Discord was telling me there's venting from the right aft flap. I missed it myself, so I'm rewinding. It could have been an RCS firing, though. but I didn't see it. Oh, I do see it now. Yeah, it was like straight up. That's interesting.
Where are you looking at the fin? Where those fins were venting earlier?
Just to the left of the right aft flap. It's not happening right now, but if you use your arrow keys to rewind the stream a few seconds or a few times, it was at 520. Huh.
Well, we'll have to keep an eye on that. We know they're probably well into detanking operations. There's some venting kind of near the base of the vehicle. I don't know if that's a tank farm or something. But they're likely wrapping things up. Might be some final depress venting. I don't know.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm waiting on now. Is that big sustained double vent from the middle of the vehicle?
Which, I mean, we had some of that earlier when it was still frosty, so it might be mostly depressed.
I'm still hoping we're going to see them flap the flaps.
That would be
Yeah.
cool.
That's kind of why we're not taking the stream down yet, even though the main test is obviously over. But again, we just saw some interesting venting, and we don't know if they're going to test the flaps at the end of this test.
Question here from King. Landing burn, 1 or 3 engines. I feel like we're expecting 2 engines because of how they were doing the static fires, right?
Yep. I mean, also based on an Everyday Astronaut article, 1 engine to light and initiate the flip, and then 2 engines during the landing burn. So there could be 3 engines burning for a brief moment, but it seems like a 1-2 kind of punch situation.
Y'all don't need me for anything, do you?
No.
Why? Are you playing with cameras?
I don't know if anybody has looked on the other stream, the stakeout stream. But Brady and I have been working on something on that other stream. I'll see if I can show it on this stream shortly. I'm just sorry, I was a little preoccupied there. Is everything good? Everything's
Well,
cool?
yeah, I think we're good.
Okay,
Chat,
cool. Thanks.
Chat is telling me that they already tested the flaps, and I know that, but I want to see it happen while we're live, and
Yeah.
possibly at a higher rate than the earlier test. The earlier test was quite a slow rate. I want to see some like rapid flapping, as they would probably be doing as they're coming down. It looks like DOS is designing a thumbnail.
I am. I'm live designing a thumbnail. You're exactly right.
That's right. You guys were talking about this earlier.
Yeah. It's all good. I'll display it here just really briefly. But I think we're all good.
Racing MHF asking if it's possible that an aircraft could be in danger during the Starship flight. That is the purpose of a temporary flight restriction, which we've been talking about before. The airspace around the area for the launch is actually closed to air traffic, so that they don't interfere with one another. So I know the SpaceX has been working with the FAA to close the airspace in the area so as to prevent any problems with air traffic. Nice to us.
What? Did you go and look?
Yeah. Can we please show that?
I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
Okay.
It's in work. Y'all keep talking.
Yeah. Another question here: how many people can Starship carry in the future? The aspirational goal has always been 100 passengers. That might not be for the initial operation.
I think
But
50 was the last they said
oh, really?
publicly. Yeah, that it had come way down.
I mean, that makes sense given the size of Starship. I think a lot of people were really skeptical that it could ever hold 100 with its current size.
Well, I think it's one thing where I think the 50 was specifically for the interplanetary missions coming down, but
Okay.
obviously, if we were talking about something slightly different than interplanetary, it might be able to hold more. But I do remember 50 being noted for the interplanetary missions.
Well, there you go. But yeah, so tens of passengers, not hundreds yet.
Literally tens of passengers. Nice.
Let's see here. And yeah, some more people asking, are the flaps in the flight configuration? We don't really know. Because they did their wedges rehearsal with the flaps in this configuration, assuming they were simulating the countdown to the flight, I would imagine that the flaps are going to be in this configuration during the initial ascent. But that's not really confirmed yet. We'll have to wait and see tomorrow what they do. Aha! Going back to a conversation we had earlier about upper stages kind of flying on their own power before the lower stages are finished, Buran flew under its jet engine power during its initial tests before it launched to space. I know it's not under rocket power, but that kind of counts. I don't know if that counts, but
I don't know if
that's a
that
good
counts
point.
because they're not the engines it uses for flight.
Right.
People were also pointing out that portions of the Saturn flew
Yeah.
like the third stage flew before a second stage flew on some of the weird Saturn configurations that they had as they
Right.
were testing
Because
that
the
program
Saturn
as well.
V third stage is just the Saturn 1 upper stage. So that's flew first there. Just like the Centaur stage that's now in Atlas V flew on other rockets before the Atlas V booster was developed. So similar to that.
All right, are y'all ready for adventures in robotic camera operation?
Absolutely.
Do you know how long it took me to get this live shot aligned exactly right?
So that's not
Brady,
pictured. They overlaid. So if I understand this right, you overlaid the text onto the live shot so you can make a thumbnail.
that is exactly right. Instead of just editing a thumbnail like a normal human being, I had Brady give me the title with a clear background, like clear alpha on the background, and then I put it over the live camera on the live stream. And this is actually the live camera right now. I don't want to mess it up because it took me forever to do this, but let's see how accurately the robot returns to the program position. I've got this stored as a program position. Let's see how good the servos are.
Can you like zoom into the O?
I can't zoom into the O. I don't have that set up. But there, yeah, see, that's a live camera behind it. And if I tell it to resume that position, let me see what it does. Is it going to go back to the same spot? Survey says,
Nice.
hey. So if I tell it to go to the production site, let's look here. Here's the production site zoom. Oh, it missed the production site. Oh, it's the wrong production site. That's why I clicked on the wrong one. Okay, so this is off one side. Looks like the camera's crooked a little bit. Let it focus. Come on. I mean, honestly, this works as well with the high bay in the background. Like, I'm okay with it. And if I tell it to go back to here, let's see how close it is to the return. Oh, come on. Not quite. Close.
Yeah, a little close.
A little bit off. A little bit off. All right. That's all good. Anyways, back to the sunset. Sorry, y'all.
That's cool though.
And so we took a screenshot of that. The next time you see the thumbnail, for whatever reason we need to do a Starship stakeout, you can see how it was created using a live camera and an image with a clear background.
Yeah, that's funny. Here we go. Will SpaceX develop other rockets or spacecraft after Starship? Huh. Cool.
At the rate they're going, warp drive is next.
I mean, we know Elon has said that they want to scale up the Starship vehicle to larger vehicles of similar design later on. I don't know if that counts as new rockets or spacecraft.
But I'm sorry, even that alone, when
Yeah.
you stand close to what you're looking at right here, not stacked on Super Heavy, which is 70 meters tall itself, before you put this on top of that, when this one's 50 meters, this is mind-bogglingly big in and of itself. the fact that they're talking about larger scale versions of these things is I mean, it's incredible, but I mean, the size of this is just mind blowing already.
Some more questions here. Does SN8 go full throttle all the way up to 12.5 kilometers and then shut off, or shut off earlier and coast to 12.5 kilometers? So the engine burn will not last all the way till 12.5 kilometers, because then Starship would actually fly higher than that. The flight is to a maximum altitude of 12.5 kilometers, which means that the engines will shut down before then, and its upward momentum will carry it the rest of the way towards its apogee of 12.5 kilometers, or its highest point. So there you go. And Jake Kraus with the super chat saying he's in South Padre Island. Who do I follow for the exact alert for the launch time? Thanks for the coverage. So if you follow at NASASpaceflight, we will be providing real-time updates as soon as we get them on the status of the launch. You can also follow SpaceX, who will be providing some official coverage of the flight as well, even though it's a test flight. So they will probably have some more information. So that would be our two recommendations to get the most up-to-date alerts for how the launch is proceeding for tomorrow. And that's at NASASpaceflight on Twitter and at SpaceX on Twitter are probably your best sources there. Of course, if you subscribe and follow us here on the YouTube channel, we will be live covering that. So when we go live, that means we're getting close to the flight happening as well. So that's another way you can follow it as well. Do we think that Starship will go to the ISS one day? We know that SpaceX wants Starship to kind of cannibalize the Dragon and Falcon fleet, make them obsolete, and make Starship take up that role, because once fully reusable and operational, Starship is expected to be less expensive per launch. So do we think that we'll see Starship taking over space station logistics in the future?
I don't foresee that unless they make like a smaller shuttle. I think that it would be pretty dangerous to try and dock Starship to station, and the amount of station keeping that you'd need to allow those two things to sort of meet up, I'm not sure that technically that's something that's possible, because Starship has bigger internal volume than the station.
Yeah.
Starship is massive, right? It's bigger than the station. I think you could say it's like by volume or by mass or by whatever, right? It's huge. And even if you were to dock a Starship to the station, there's no way that the supplies that you would put in a Starship would fit inside the station. Does that make sense? Like you're not going to use it to send 6 astronauts up.
Right.
I don't know.
That's
I
a fair
guess would
point.
you? Question mark. You know.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good point. I mean, in the future, at some point, the ISS will be retired, and maybe we'll replace that with a new low Earth orbit station. Maybe if there's one that's bigger, or they kind of design it with that in mind, maybe. I mean, Starship's main purpose is interplanetary transport. So as long as it's filling that goal, any other rules is kind of like a bonus, I would say. And SpaceX has said, they'll keep the Falcon and Dragon fleet operational for as long as customers want them. So if it turns out the Starship isn't great for ISS logistics, that means they can just continue supporting that with Dragon. So I think that's a good point.
And just all the different views here. Mary sort of got the sun at her back here, right? So the sun is setting
Yeah.
behind Mary's camera, and we're going to start to get more and more lighting on Starship here. And then Jack is over 90 degrees on the side, and you can sort of see Jack's different perspective there, right? It's starting to get a little bit of a sunset effect there, where Mary's still getting the full light on the side of the spacecraft. So it's a nice day down there, y'all. It is a really nice day.
Yeah, it really is a nice one. And if you can think of it like a clock, if Mary was at 6 o'clock, I'm at 9.
Yep, that's exactly right.
So we came here expecting a wet dress rehearsal, and it appears that we have seen exactly that go on. And it looks like they have detanked. Of course, the tanks are no longer frosty or anything like that. The pad is still closed. What is our plan for keeping an eye on this? Are we going to wait till the pad reopens, or what are we thinking?
I'm not sure on that one. I mean, it's a nice day out there, but I know tomorrow is going to be a very big day as well. So having everybody being out and about, It may be. I mean, one way or the other, the robot over at South Padre Island is going to stay online. So that stream is going to be up in terms of providing commentary until sundown. What are we doing? What time is sundown out there at South Padre today?
It's
Sundown could
going
be,
down right now. Like
yeah,
literally in the next minute. I think it's 5:37 or 5:38 local,
yeah,
and it's 5:36 right now.
gotcha. It's up to y'all. One way or the other, we're gonna keep that Starship stakeout stream going with the sunset view. There from South Padre Island, so we could certainly spool down the commentary. It looks like we did get to the end of the super chat queue. Of course, as soon as I said that, somebody did a super chat. Web Finder, thanks for the CLP 8900. CLP, anybody want to Google all
I'll
that for
Google
me?
it. Hold on.
Thank you.
It's over 8,000.
Well, it is over
Uh,
800
Chilean pesos.
Chilean pesos. Well, Web Finder, thank you
Which is
for
about
that.
12 US bucks.
12 US bucks. Cool. Hey, we'll
Appreciate
take
it.
it. All right. But we've cleared out the super chat queue. We could always sit here like 24/7 answering questions and stuff like that. Look at this guy. Got the sunset view going on there. Like Jack said, the sun's just about going down. But in terms of commentary and cutting loose people, I think we're good to start wrapping it up here. That's a question mark at the end of that. I don't know. What do y'all think?
I think we've seen what we're going to see, to be honest.
Yeah, fair enough.
A huge thank you to everyone. I mean, we had so many super chats and donations and things during the stream. Thank you so much for all that support. I just love that you guys support us so much, and we get to keep doing this kind of stuff. And thanks for just hanging out. And hopefully, of course, we'll have to wait. Maybe we'll get an Elon tweet or something. But hopefully tonight was the final big milestone test before SN8 takes to the skies tomorrow.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, it would be fantastic if we get weather like today and
Right.
the winds and everything's good tomorrow and everything technically works out for SpaceX. It would be a beautiful day for a Starship to take a little flight. So,
Yep.
did I disrupt? Is there anybody else here?
Yeah,
Jack,
I mean,
how
I
you
can
doing?
reiterate what you guys just said if you want. I mean, it's going to be exciting tomorrow. Hopefully, the weather is as good as it is tomorrow as it was today, and hopefully they are able to get at least an attempt for a 12.5 kilometer hop under their belts tomorrow. I know we all are anxious to see it. And one final time and one final note, it's just important to note this is a developmental test. If things don't go 100% right, as long as it gets off the pad and doesn't destroy the launch pad and infrastructure, it's a success. And even then, if they learned enough from that, it's a success. So it's just always important to reiterate, it's a test program. They are doing flight testing, and so sometimes during flight testing, things go wrong. So no matter what happens tomorrow, I know we're all super excited to see the events that occur, and just important to, as mainstream media does its whole, oh, SpaceX blows up rocket in South Texas dance, we, keep a level head and make sure our friends and family know that it's a developmental test of a developmental rocket program, and this is part of the road to getting back to the moon and getting to Mars, and this is all we want to see. So just a small note to keep the people that that might be sort of aware of this stuff but not completely aware of this stuff informed that tomorrow is a big day and we're all very excited to see whatever occurs. But no matter what happens, it's going to be a learning opportunity, and it's just one step on this awesome staircase that we are all climbing together as we work towards Mars.
Yeah, sounds good to me, Jack. That sounds really good. Y'all, I do believe that is going to mark, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're going to go ahead and spool down our commentated broadcast here. And we will continue to leave that Starship stakeout stream online, but we will be spooling this stream down. So if you want to watch Starship SN8 all the way down to sunset from the robot that's positioned over at Padre Island, here is the link. I am putting it in chat. That's me, K Space Academy. Oh, did I put it in the wrong? I put it in the wrong link, the wrong stream. There you go. So if y'all want to join us over that way, we'll keep that one going. That one's sort of unattended. It's just the robot hanging out, providing live feed. But we are going to go ahead and end our live coverage of hopefully the day before Starship's 12.5 kilometer hop. Did I miss
Hopefully.
anything else? Go around the horn.
Sure.
What were you saying, Thomas? Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just saying, yeah, hopefully tomorrow. I mean, obviously, stay tuned for updates because the test schedule is fluid. The technical issue could come up, weather could come up, who knows? But hopefully tomorrow we will have a flight opportunity and a launch attempt for Starship SN8, and it'll be very exciting. So, thanks for tuning in tonight, and thanks, and hopefully you'll tune in with us tomorrow.
All right. So, people joining us here today, of course, we had this fantastic view courtesy of Boca Chica Gal. She's got the up close and personal camera. We're so spoiled with this camera. However many other cameras we add, we have been spoiled by Mary and how close she is and how nice this camera that she operates is out there. Not just in the live streams, but in the daily videos that come out, all the sunrises and reflections in the water and all the different ways that she's helped you experience Starship. Give it up for Boca Chica Gal, y'all. Put it in chat. Say thank you to Mary because she is the reason that we know what's going on down there at Boca Chica. I just wait until we see. Yeah, there you go. Lots of people saying thank you, Mary. You can follow her on Twitter. She's at Boca Chica Gal up in the upper right hand corner of the screen. If you want to keep apprised of the latest breaking photos and videos and stuff like that coming out of Boca Chica, you should follow her because she's taking them. That's that's what I like to see, y'all. Also here commentating, dude, Thomas, thank you so much for holding it down today while I was watching all my robot children.
No problem. Always a pleasure.
All right, Thomas Burkhart, live stream commentator, editor. When's the last time you wrote a story, man?
Hey, I wrote one like a couple days ago. Give me a break,
Oh,
man.
okay. All right, cool. All right, well, thank you for writing stories too. Thomas Burkhart, y'all, TG Mezfan 98 on Twitter. Always a pleasure having you here, Thomas. Thank you so much for being a part of this.
Thank you, Das.
All right. Who else we have? Out in the field, we've got Jack Byer. Jack, are you still on? Yes. And look at this. Whoopsh. Jack's
I sure
camera.
am. And
Jack's
yep, that's my.
information.
There you go. Yep. Thanks everybody for watching. Thank you everybody so much for all of your support. And yeah, let's everybody cross your fingers that tomorrow is another beautiful day like today, and we get to see SN8 fly. If you want to follow me on Twitter at the Jack Byer on Twitter, click that little follow button. Also, hit like and subscribe if you like this stream. Like and subscribe on this channel. Thanks everybody. Have a great night.
Andre asked if you've received your kayak yet, and how beefy are your forearms for rowing the kayak?
Well, I'll tell you one thing: they're going to get a lot more beefy if we're going to have to. We're going to have to do a live stream from the kayak at some point to appease Andre, even if it's just like from my phone and preserving the expensive equipment on dry land. But we can do something to appease Andre for his demand from a live stream from the kayak. I mean, he just literally sent me a kayak, so we have to do something.
By the way, I added that part about your arms being beefy enough to row the kayak. That was editorial commentary. I just added that in. Anyways, Jack, thank you so much. Be safe out there at South Padre. Watch the crowds tomorrow. Be safe there as well. And thank you so much. Driving all the way from California to 24 something hours, you said, right?
Yeah, something like it's 24 hours as Apple Maps flies, so it's longer than that with gas and food and other stops and sanity. But yeah, we're being safe out here. We are staying distant, and we are masked, and we are not going around or hanging around with other people. And yeah, that's the name of the game. It's pandemic time.
Yeah, good deal. Well, be safe out there, Jack. We'll look forward to talking to you again tomorrow. And then also back in the studio, we had Michael Baylor. Michael, thank you for everything you do to make these streams happen.
No problem. And hopefully the wet dress rehearsal we saw today went well so that the launch is cleared to occur on Tuesday, which is tomorrow, and that is hard to believe. I think this is the first day out of the past week or so where we've woken up and finished a day with the target launch date not changing. So that's a very good sign.
Also, SpaceX posted a stream, right?
Right.
Like they published a stream on YouTube saying that it was going to happen. I think that's a first for this as well. So probably a pretty good indication things continue to march forward.
Yeah.
All right. Well, folks, oh, Chris Gebhardt, are you still here? I'm not sure if Chris is still here. He was doing a bunch of background support. I will not tell you, the streams with more cameras and more questions and more viewers, they get more and more and more every time we do it. And so Chris was doing some back end support, pulling questions and answering stuff and providing links in the background and stuff. Oh, look, the Hopper's eyes came on, by the way. So Chris
And don't
Gamhart
forget,
was.
don't
Go
forget
ahead.
Chris's invaluable shuttle commentary too.
Of course.
There you go. So I think Chris is off comms for now, but massive thanks to him for making this stuff happen as well. But that wraps it up for us, y'all. The NASA spaceflight team going to go ahead and sign off again. If you want to watch the sunset all the way down, you can hop on over to the Starship Stakeout stream that is over there. That's just that robotic camera. Let's get our camera operators back in. Let's get them all charging batteries and wiping lenses and everything that needs to happen before the big day tomorrow, because tomorrow it's going to be go time, hopefully with Starship SN8. SpaceX saying they are going to go for the first 12.5 kilometer hop attempt. But for now, John Galloway for NASA Spaceflight and the rest of the NASA Spaceflight team here signing off the commentary, and we will see you nerds later. Thank you all so much for all the support, and get your Texas Tank Watchers merchandise before it's all gone or something. Later, nerds.
Propulsion continues to be normal.
Alright, the chamber pressure looks good. Following up. Roger roll, Atlantic.
Water towers, fly!
Flight downside of speed off. Off.
Yikes. You bet. Concur. We don't need any more of these.